Blog Talk Radio.
Out here in Birmingham, UK, we stay tuned to that Debate Talk for You radio show. Just want to shout out my man Sal and all the other hosts. Make sure you keep it locked right here from the Express Truth. Peace.
Greatness attracts greatness. Talk with the Titans host here, Callum L. And you're now locked into Debate Talk for You radio.
Yeah, this is Novel King, representing GMG, Goshen Music Group. My new album, The Analyst, is dropping 8/8/16 this summer, featuring Opal Ingram, Seek Truth, and a few Philly artists. Yeah, it'll be all available in iTunes, Amazon CD Baby, Google Play, Apple Music, and more. To get a feel for my music, pick up Kingology. It's available right now on all download sites. This is Novel King, representing GMG, Goshen Music Group. The new album, The Analyst, is dropping 8/8/16 this summer. The Analyst, The Analyst. Voice of the people, voice of the people.
Hi, this is Tyrone Thompson, host of the Blog Talk Radio broadcast, Talk Real Solutions. Please tune in and listen to all of our shows 7 nights a week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At Talk Real Solutions, we cover a variety of topics to ensure we speak about what may be needed in our community at any time. Talk Real Solutions is the hottest blog talk radio show going on right now. You can listen to our broadcast at www.blogtalkradio.com/talkrealsolutions or visit our website at www.talkrealsolutions.com. Also like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/talkrealsolutions. You can call in at any time during the show and add to the conversation and offer your solutions at 1-858-357-8453. That's 1-858-357-8453. Because at Talk Real Solutions, we want to make sure you have a chance to talk real solutions.
Greetings from the I Love Being Black movement. We have the largest black Facebook page with over 6 million fans worldwide, and we're offering advertising options at affordable rates. If you want to increase your reach with loads of new fans, then this is absolutely the best way. We also offer seminars, consultations, and strategic planning services by Kumi Rauf, aka the Social Strategist. Why not contact us today at ilovebeingBlack.com or call us at 310-807-5775. Cheers.
Shalom Debate Talk for You family. This spring, when you're planning your family gatherings, be sure to purchase Tupperware, kitchen storageware, and appliances for those special occasions of building memories with your loved ones, keeping your favorite foods fresh for the spring. And don't miss out on the chance to win a 32-gigabyte Kindle Fire HD with any eligible purchase made up until April 21st. Be sure to take advantage of this offer and great deals at www.shopfortupperware.com. That's SHOPFORTUPPERWARE. Make healthy meals and beautiful memories. Shalom.
Shalom Alaikum, Israel. This your brother Zadok Ben Israel, assistant teacher at the Congregation of Israel, the Knesset of Jesus, located in Buffalo, New York. We believe in the full, uncut Word of God from Genesis to Revelation, and we seek to share the truth that the Holy Spirit has witnessed to us. So if you are interested in finding out more about our ministry, please visit us at www.congregationisrael.net. You can also find our teachings on YouTube under my namesake, youtube.com/Zadok Ben Israel. We also have a page, Knesset Yeshua, KNESSETYSHUA. You can also find us on Blog Talk Radio every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, on the Growing Stone Bible Study Show. Go to blogtalkradio.com/Nazarene. And if you feel you just want to reach out and talk to us personally, call us 866-78-BIBLE. Shalom, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk for You Radio.
Yeah, Shalom. I want to give a shout out to Sal at Debate Talk for You. What's going on? Hey, Debate Talk for You is where it's at. You know, get your verses straight, put your cell phone record, come on board, present what you got. If anyone try to cut you off, Sal will just mute that guy's mic. You know, he'll let you express what you got. He'll let you present what you studied for. Let the audience decide if what you got, you know, is inside the scriptures. Debate Talk for You, once again, shout out to Sal. Terrific job. Hey, you can press number 1 or find yourself on a lion's den.
This is Renald Francoeur representing from Atlanta, Georgia. And when I'm not busy in the studio, I'm checking out Debate Talk for You Radio. Keep up the great work, Sal Showtime.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to another show. You're now listening to Season 6 of Debate Talk for You Radio. Of course, I'm your host, Sal Showtime, and it is Monday. You know what that means. The Relationship Challenge is back each and every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And right now we have volume 16 of the Relationship Challenge. We appreciate all the support out there for the people that's been making the comments and, supporting the show itself, the segment, the Relationship Challenge. And it's going to be, another classic show for you guys. Today's show is entitled, Whose Line Is It? What roles belong to women and men? Once again, whose line is it? What roles belong to women and men? We're going to get some more clarity as we introduce everybody on the panel. And, of course, I see I'm almost calling in your phone via Skype. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Live, checking out the Big Talk Radio. Amuna, if you're out there, press number 1. All right, so of course we introduce the first lady of the Debate Talk for You, the creator of this segment. This is Amuna. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me once again. Another week. Boy, the time is flying. All praise be to the Most High, the Holy One of creation, giving thanks and praise for this day. What's up, Brother Sal? How are you doing today?
Another day, you know how it is. Back, showtime once again.
Indeed, indeed. Quickly.
Yeah, and of course, people, make sure you go out there and go buy that book. Go to the website, www.mybookbag.org or mybookbag.com. Which one is it?
No, it's .org, yeah. Mybookbag.org.
There we go.
And, the book is out. It's getting reviews. The people are liking it. like I said before, if you would like to, there's a free first chapter. So go ahead and go to mybookbox.org. You'll be able to read the free first chapter and get it for your children. Sometimes this is the thing with us. We be like, man, if we only had, and then when we have, we be like, we don't really support what we have. So hopefully, as a part of our healing process, you support platforms like Debate Talk for You, not only by dialing in, but also by sustaining it. Helping to make sure that it continues to go on. We have to invest in where we are and what we have. So definitely do that across the board. If you see brothers or sisters doing positive work, it takes money to make this thing go round. So yeah, definitely.
All right, once again, that was Amuna right there, and we're going to get this show started. Water Swordsman, if you're out there, do me a favor, press number 1 as well, and we can bring you in. We're going to introduce the home team right about now. They're here each and every week. And, of course, I definitely appreciate the home team panel right here on Debate Talk Radio. Let's start off with my sister from the BK all day, Brooklyn. This is Mayana. Welcome to the show.
Hey, shalom, everyone. Praise to the Most High. Greetings from Brooklyn, like my brother said. Prayerfully, you will find this segment edifying as it addresses the manner in which we understand and interact with one another. As you know, we work very hard on lots of projects aimed at providing the very best possible information according to what the ancestors have recorded and left for us. To that end, you can look forward to an organized space of learning where some of us have teamed up to share the mechanics of practical skills like navigating personal relationships and trades, including how to write and publish a book, which is taught by our sister Emuna, in addition to studies on the culture, which in many cases are approached from a holistic view. My personal projects include launching Genesis 2 Ministries, which concentrates on getting accurate and affirming information out to women, both through physical workshops and social media, and G2M Inc., which does print work like many of the promotions you have seen for this segment, other Debate Talk for You discussions, and professional documents. How Soulful means to scribe, so I write a lot, read a lot, research a lot, and do what scribes do for the people, from legend to law. Until the website goes live, you can contact me at the.soulfulet@gmail.com. That's THE.SOFERET@gmail.com.
All right, once again, that's Mariana right here on Debate Talk Radio. Let's go to my brother, Water Swordsman. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, shalom, Big Sal, and my two sisters. How y'all doing? All praises to the Most High in the name of Yahweh Shai. I look forward to this discussion, and that's that.
All right, yeah, it's the home team here. We family now. We all brothers and sisters right here. We family now. You know what I mean? A relationship challenge. Let's go and introduce the special guest. We always invite a special guest or two, to the show. And my brother is back. Ahmathyahs, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. Yes. Thank you for having me. I just want to wish everybody a good night and, of course, love and greetings in the name of the Most High God. And I look forward to having a healthy discussion with all of you. Thank you.
All right, so like I always say, to avoid any background noise, just mute your mics or mute your phones until it's time for you to speak. And, of course, everybody know there's no language on Debate Talk for You, no foul language. You got to keep it clean, keep it professional. We have people out there listening with the children and even the elderly, so, we got to keep it professional. Of course, Amuna's going to take over the opening statement, and then we're going to go around, to the round table. By the way, we have 2 round tables, as a matter of fact, this week. To let you guys know, on Thursday and Friday, we have a round table, 2 round tables. So make sure you keep a lock on Debate Talking Radio. And on Wednesday, we're going to have a hot seat. I'm going to have the irritated genie right here on Debate Talking on the hot seat segment. So make sure you keep a lock. All right, so Amuna, take it away.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us once again. This is the Relationship Challenge, and we are tackling issues from the beginning even up until now as we're ending this season that if you at least tune in and take heed, you can save yourself a lot of pain and agony or whatever it is that you're going to face. At least meditate on some of the things and the conversations that we've had over this time. So prayerfully, it has been one that is more preventative than reactive, and so will be the conversation tonight. So tonight we're speaking about whose line is it. This is also another big issue. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. That's my position. This is your position. And so it's going to be, of course, always scripturally based, and then in the conversation of where is the gray line? Is there a gray line between it's your turn, it's my turn? Are there hard lines? Does it depend on the family? Does it depend on the man? Does it depend on the woman? All of this stuff is what we're going to talk about today. So buckle your seatbelts and make sure to press 1 because I know you're out there listening, and we would love your interaction. So with that said, I'm gonna go to Brother Award's opening statements. Usually I go to Sister Mayana, but today I'm gonna go to Brother Award for his opening statements concerning the roles of women and men in the nation. So Brother Award, the mic is yours.
Yeah. You know me, I always have I want to go to the beginning in Genesis to start off how the downward spiral happened and why there's so much chaos now going on. Nobody know their position. Okay, that's where a lot of chaos. So I'm going to start Genesis 1, verse 26. And the Most High said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish and of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Right? Now I'm going to go to Genesis 2, verse 16. It says, and the Lord power commanded the man. So the man is the one that got the commandment, right? Saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. So man was given the commandment by the Most High. Okay, so man screwed up first, right? Because he was the one that was given the commandment. The responsibility was put on him, right? Now I want to go to the woman. I'm going to go to Genesis 2, verse 18. And the Lord power said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmate for him. So this is the woman's position. She was made to be a helpmate. When we go to Proverbs 31, we get a better illustration of what a helpmate is. Not just get in the corner, shine my shoe. No. There's a whole brilliance and wisdom in women being helpmates. She has to be wise in her nature. Okay? Then then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Genesis 3 and 3. What did she do to get out of her position? Okay? So man and woman is at fault while you have all this confusion. This is Genesis 3, verses 3. It says, I'm starting 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. So what's happening here? The serpent came to the woman with an agenda, right? Look what the woman said. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For the Most High doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods. So this proves right here, when we examine this point, it was something that Eve had that the serpent gave her that made them be like God. So this shows us that this was some high-level information. This was some form of wisdom that was given to Eve, okay? So we're going to read what position that Eve didn't play that caused this great spiritual death that we're sitting in right now today. Then it says, for the Most High doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. So this tree that she tapped into, I'll explain it later what it is, it made her wise, all right? She took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So what I'm putting out here, both parties did not play their part. Adam didn't keep the commandment, okay, which was given to him, and Eve tapped into some knowledge that was given by the serpent and went over Adam's head and then gave it to him. So I just wanted to set the tone in playing the part, going way back to our fathers, way back in ancient times. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic.
All righty now. Brother Ward just kicked it off with going back to the Genesis story. I'm going to go back now to Genesis 2 Ministries. Sister Mayana, your thoughts on your opening statements on this conversation?
Oh, shalom, everybody. I'm glad to be here again. So the topic is obviously a really good one because it's going to reveal a lot of spirits and we see what kind of spirit people are moving in with regard to how the nation used to be built and what role each person has to play in that rebuilding. Now, historically, both men and women contributed to the culture and how it was organized and how it was birthed. Going back to Genesis is interesting, particularly when going to Genesis, the first chapter, where it says, I think I heard Awar read from 26, and I think he may have ended with 26, because in 27, it becomes very clear that the Most High created in his own image, in the image of the Most High, he created him, male and female. He created them. And that's where it is. And the Most High blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish and the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So we see here that the commandment that came from the Most High was given to them, which is a plural pronoun, and that plural pronoun is explained in 27, male and female. So we see here that both the masculine and the feminine principle is present from the beginning, no matter how much others may want to omit that fact and not admit to that fact. And this is repeated again in Genesis, the 5th chapter, in the 2nd verse, where even when talking about Adam, we see that the masculine and feminine principle is still present. The Most High does not privilege the male principle over the female principle. Indeed, in Genesis 2, we find that with the masculine principle, the Most High decided it is not good for man to be alone. So to isolate the man and make it seem as if there is some reason to exclude the female because of the masculine presence, we see that the Most High said it's not good for man to be alone. And what he does is he does not create dogs, man's best friend, it is not. He does not create the brotherhood. What he creates for the man is a woman. And he separates the masculine and feminine principle. So they occupy their own physical spaces. And now they're able to face one another. Indeed, the word meet in Hebrew is actually indicative of being opposite in such a way as being where they're standing face to face or they're able to face one another so that the woman can reflect back to the man. And that is what is the purpose of women. There's no real mystery. I think it's important here to kind of demystify this notion of the tree that she partook of. The tree is very plainly called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's very much the same way that if you approach an apple tree, the fruit that would come thereof would be an apple. Or if you were to approach a peach tree, the fruit thereof would be a peach. If you go to a tree that is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the fruit thereof would be the knowledge of good and evil. So what Eve partook of, very plainly, the knowledge of good and evil. Having said that, and obviously her mate was there, and he participated in partaking of this knowledge of good and evil that they were initially told not to participate in. Going forward, this does not affect, because we see that the Most High becomes disenchanted with all of creation, and for the most part chooses to reset creation, beginning with Noah and his wife, his sons, and their wife. And we find ourselves in the position of being able to resume the original design. And going throughout the text, throughout the volume of the text, we see that women continue to occupy spaces. There are different spaces from the men. The men have very necessary, very different, and very important spaces, but that does not diminish the value of the spaces that the women occupy. I think that what becomes problematic is that at some point the women felt like they needed to compete on a masculine scale, and that's not necessary because the roles of the women carry value just by their nature in those spaces. And the reason why this particular conversation is important is because the women have to learn to appreciate their spaces, appreciate the value of the spaces that belong to them, and not internalize the idea that those spaces are diminished because they are different from the spaces that the men must occupy, and must be left alone to occupy, because those are their spaces. Certain things carry a particular vibration, a particular necessity, and when it becomes the point where the men feel like their positions are the only positions, or when women feel like they need to occupy spaces that the men are occupying, we necessarily cancel each other out, and we are destroying one another because we are not appreciating one another and allowing each other to, with value, with dignity, with integrity, pursue what the Most High has designed and ordered us to do. And with that, the floor is whomever goes next.
Well. I want to thank you for that. That was Sister Mayana. For those who joined us, we're talking about roles for men and women. What are they? How are they defined? Right now, we're in the book of Genesis, as Brother Award just spoke, and Sister Mayana. So I'm going to go to Brother Ahmathyahs, and so he can give his opening statements on this conversation. The mic is yours, brother.
Hello once again. I think Sister Mayana pretty much hit it on the head. She made sure to mention that it's not about one role being over the other, but both roles having a equal standing yet unique aspect in the role of a relationship and, of course, in the sight of the Most High. So when it comes down to the role of men and women, I know that we're here to discuss what those roles are, or I guess as best as we can. I don't think anybody would necessarily dispute the fact that the man is the head of the relationship. Nevertheless, head does not necessarily mean more important. It does not carry with it a rank of superiority to the sense that women are of lesser value in the eyes of the Most High God than we are. That's just not the case. Head just simply means that we take charge when it comes down to leadership in the relationship. Nevertheless, that does not mean that women are of any lesser value than us. That definitely does not mean that her place in the home means less, that it holds less weight, that it holds less gravity in the relationship or in raising children or anything like that, because we need them just as much as they need us. And I also think that when it comes down to men being the head in the relationship, because, a lot of us like to champion that fact that we're the head, but at the same time, too many of us doesn't take the leadership role when it comes down to establishing our women, when it comes down to praising them, when it comes down to loving them, when it comes down to even being humble. Okay, when it comes down to saying, listen, even taking the L at times, where you and your woman is having an argument, and you take the leadership role, and sometimes backing away and saying, yo, you know what, you're worth more to me than this argument, and then just letting her have her way, as long as it's not in sin, giving her that praise that she needs, that constant reaffirming, that constant reaffirming voice that she needs, so that she can be comfortable in her space. It's not always about us exercising authority to get our way. When it comes down to the feminine and the masculine principle, we see all throughout Scripture where the Most High presents himself as father and as husband, and he presents Israel as the wife. He puts Israel in the feminine role, and he allows himself to guide Israel, to be that support for Israel, to be that cushion for Israel. And so much the fact that he gets upset when Israel, as the feminine principle, goes outside to meet her needs, because he is the masculine principle and he is there to meet Israel's needs, and he goes out of his way to show that. So when it comes down to us, the men, fulfilling our role, I think the best thing that we can do is to pretty much look at how the Most High fulfilled his role as the masculine energy in the relationship between us and him.
That's right.
And he's never one just to seek pleasure out of it for himself. So even when it comes down to the healing of the nation, which I've heard, said before, men have to be the one. It's the men who have to set up and be the ones to say, you know what, healing is definitely necessary, and it has to start at home with the wife, and he has to be the one to set it off. He has to be the one to take charge of that, and that definitely looks like the way that it should look like is him building her up, which why he was given that leadership role to begin with, to nurture her, to take care of her, to look after her, and to make her feel comfortable in being a woman, and to praise her always, and to back her, to love her, to nourish her, to not be selfish with our love, and and for that I'm going to Mike. Thank you.
We got some people probably out there twitching in their armchair like, what kind of madness? For those who have just joined us, very, very interesting stuff, because what we're speaking about is our roles. And I heard some very good things just a while ago, and hopefully we'll be able to explore them a little further. And some things more concrete concerning necessarily the household, who's responsible for the majority of making sure that you have the substance, the things you need, the food, the clothing, shelter. Whose responsibility is that primary and secondarily? Whose responsibility is it to rear the children on an ongoing basis? All of these things that may cause mass confusion within the households, hopefully we'll be able to touch on those things. But for right now, I want to go to, thank you for that, Brother Ahmathyah. I'm going to go back to Brother Award now for his thoughts on what was just said, as well as what he desires to say at this point.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? I'm going to finish what I said last time out. The reason why this book is the most hated book in the universe, why people choose to not deal with the book, make up things because of what it says. Okay, there were consequences going back in the Genesis of to Adam and to Eve, right? And I just want to read Eve's consequence of what she did. The initiative that she took to break that commandment and tap into that wisdom, that evil wisdom that she wasn't supposed to tap into. This is Genesis 3, verses 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow in thy conception. Now, when we read this, we were taught when we were kids, this is just talking about when you have childbirth, you have birth things, but it's a higher understanding to this because it affects the offspring of Adam and Eve, which trickle down to the children of Israel. That's why I'm going to bring it up to the day. Then it says, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow in thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children. Tell you that in Deuteronomy 28. And thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So what this shows us is that the Most High took initiative to establish a structure after the transgression of these two individuals. He established now a structure, okay, where he said the woman shall be, I'm going to read it again, okay, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. I went through all the scriptures, and I didn't find where the Most High corrected this or gave women an out. Now, women have went in positions of power, played wrong positions and stuff, took initiative, being that the world went in a downward spiral to evil, but I never read anything where the Most High came back and gave a license to correct the errors of Eve. So I'm going to read right here. This is Genesis 3, verse 22, where man was given a way to redeem himself. It says, and the Lord power said, behold, the man has become as one of us. How did man become as one of us, and who's the us? You're talking about the heavenly host. The Most High, yes, his son was there. Okay, the Savior, the angels. That's what it means by man became as one of us. And it says what? It says, become as one of us to know good and evil. When did man know good? When the Most High made him in his image. So how did he know evil? When Eve introduced him to that evil understanding or wisdom that she was dealing with, that the serpent introduced her to. Then it says, and now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So man was given the opportunity to take initiative to put himself back in reputation with the Creator if he takes that initiative. I just wanted to bring that point out to finish it out, where it goes back to playing. The man had the position or the place to take the initiative to start playing the position he was created to play. Okay? And then women were put back in their position, which is the helpmate position. And we can't forget that. Going back to Proverbs, a good example of what a helpmate is. So the Most High put in structure after that because we screwed up. Man and woman screwed up. Let me read this. This is Ecclesiastes 25, verse 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. So the Most High corrected this. And we're going to read about the structure as I further go on, and we're going to show how this structure needs to be put in today. And we're going to show why this structure as society is not dealing with the structure the Most High came and reiterated. Why? Because this world is ruled in a different fashion than what the Creator set out to be. But with that, I'm going to pass the mic, and in the next turn, I'm going to bring out the structure that's now put in place to correct the errors of our fathers. And with that, I pass the mic.
All right now. All right. Sister Bayani, your thoughts on what Brother Awad just said and whatever it is that you wanted to add to the conversation. The mic is yours.
Well, rather than make any comments on what Awad, his conclusions were on the matter, I will instead just go back to the actual text. And in the third chapter, the 22nd verse, where it is said, behold, the man has become as one of us. The word man there is not ish. It is Adam, which means it's not talking about the masculine principle. It is talking about both the masculine and feminine principle together, meaning it is talking about humankind or us as a people, because it was both the masculine and feminine principle that partook of the knowledge of good and evil. I don't know why that's being dropped. This is a tree that had the knowledge of both good and evil, and both of them partook of it. So both of them had this knowledge, and it was the both of them that the Mala'ak were concerned with when they said that man has become like us, and why they wanted to protect the tree of life so they could also have access to eternal life, becoming immortal on top of having all of this new information. Also, what I found interesting was Awad, who is usually very apt at going to the New Testament for his information, has opted to go to the Apocrypha in a letter written by Paul to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 15:22. Paul states that as in Adam, all die. So it sounds like what we're trying to do is place an onus on the feminine principle, when very clearly this onus of departing from the will of the Most High fell on both the male and the female. And we kind of need to be honest about that. and try not to play the blame game, because the blame game is not going to get us anywhere. It didn't work for Adam, the male principal, when he said to the father, "It's the woman you gave me. That didn't work for him. It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. So there's no reason to resurrect that particular argument. Instead, what we could do is look forward and deal with what the volume of the text bears out in terms of what the roles are. As Ahmathyahs stated, I don't think that you'd find anyone who would argue that the role of the male is to have authority in the home as that fixture, because it says that a woman will have her desire to her husband. And obviously that is the case. And I don't think that you would find anyone arguing that a woman will be subject to the authority of her husband. The other thing that Ahmathyahs brought out was that while we have all of our pom-poms up for authority, we find that there's a bit of a pause and a slowing down when we talk about accountability. So rather than get the caveman clubs and beat everybody over the head with the men don't have authority, the men have authority. Okay, so the men have authority. I think we can pretty much, check that box off and move forward and say, okay, so what does that mean? What does he do now that he has authority? What are his roles? Because that's just the topic. The question is not whether or not the man has authority or whether or not the Most High established that the male would have authority, but instead, what does the man do with that authority? What does the woman do with that authority? That kind of authority is very clearly within the context of the family, within the context of the home, because even in interrogating the statement, it says that she will have her desire to her husband, not to everything with a penis, but to her husband. So that authority does not extend to every male everywhere. She has to have her desire to the one male, because in the account that we look into in the second chapter of Genesis, what she does is she allows someone other than the male that she was given to influence her or to give her information. Someone other than her male counterpart, her husband, gave her information, and the Most High corrects that. You don't get information from other people. If you are married, if that is your husband, then your desire is to him. You should not desire information from anyone else. So that set a tone. That does set an order. It does not answer the question of what are the actual rules. So we have to deal with the fact that we are living in a practical environment. So it's very disingenuous to use all of these lofty terms without giving goal directions. These are the things that you are supposed to do. These are the things that he is supposed to do, instead of throwing around rhetoric that has been recycled and represented a million times. We have to just kind of unpack these things so that they are bite-sized, understandable, and doable. These are the things that women did according to our cultural records. These are the things that men did according to our cultural records. I start having those kinds of honest, in-depth conversations. With that, I yield the floor.
Well, it sounds like the pot a bubble right now. The pot seems to be bubbling, so we got to stir it up a little bit so the bottom don't stick. This is getting interesting. As it relates to, it seems we have taken a quick detour off into the land of the man as the head and the authority. Is that the thought? Is that where? Because oftentimes when we keep revisiting something, it's because that could possibly be where the injury is. That is where someone is, like Mayana just she actually stated, that the onus, like who are we putting the blame on? Are we in another way recreating this blame game situation? Why did we quickly get to the point of whose fault is it as it relates to roles? So that's the question, and I'm sure that many who are listening at this time will say, okay, now fast forward to this space and time, and how does that translate into now? So Very good dialogue. I'm going to go to Brother Ahmathyah, and I relinquish the mic.
Yeah, I definitely like where this conversation is going. And if anybody wants to play the blame game, I mean, that's something that we can definitely do. And if we do that, I think the scriptures will bear out that the blame rightfully belongs at the feet of the man and not necessarily the woman. Because in 1 Corinthians 15 it says that in Adam all died. It doesn't say in Eve. Now, of course, I'm not saying that Eve didn't have a part to play, but the whole point is it goes back to what I said earlier. If you are the head, which men are, which we are, that means that we are the head and the first at taking everything on, which also includes the blame. We men have to put our egos aside and get out of our own way. What I simply mean by that is we cannot be the head only when it suits us, only when it's comfortable for us. We cannot play the leadership card only when it fits us to get our way. If we're going to be the head and if we're going to play that leadership role, then that means that we are first to receive the blame. Likewise, we can be the first to receive the glory, but the glory, I would rather that we share it, much less to receive it and to keep it to ourselves. When it comes down to a particular role of the man, I stated earlier that the Most High, even in his relationship with Israel, how he played the masculine and feminine. He played the masculine role, and Israel played the feminine. And how later on in the text, for example, in Ephesians 5:25, it says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church, and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify her and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word." So we see here an example given, okay? The same way how the Messiah was sent to die for his people and have that sacrificial attitude and that sacrificial posture is the same way how men are to take a page from that book and have the same thing towards the women, which means that we're supposed to lay down our lives for them, if need be, and not only are we supposed to lay down our lives for them as the masculine principle or as the head, but also live for them, which is to sanctify them, to be in relationship with them, to love them, okay, to support them. Too many of us, too many times, think that being the head or the masculine principle means that you can't be soft with your woman or tender with your woman or kind-hearted to your woman. You can't sit yourself down and write her a poem for no reason. You can't go outside and buy her favorite set of flowers because it's Monday. Show her some appreciation. If she comes into the door, have the meal already cooked, even if it's not your place to cook in the home, but just to make her think that she's appreciated, make her feel that she's thought of. If we're supposed to love our woman to the extent that we're going to die for her, okay, because that's what Ephesians 5:25 says, that I'm supposed to love my woman to the extent that if need be, I'm going to lay down my life for this woman. So if I'm going to take it to that extreme, because there's no sacrifice bigger than that. If I'm going to die for this woman, then there's no reason that I can't be tender towards her, especially if I go back into the Old Testament and I see how the Most High was always wooing Israel, how he always spoke softly to her, how he always loved her, how he always took care of her needs, how he always looked to do more for her. So this is a prime example of how we, as a masculine principle or the head, is supposed to treat our women. Be a shoulder to cry on for them. Take her out outside to do to do a walk for no reason. Buy her an ice cream cone. I mean, any little thing you will do, any little thing just to simply make her smile. Tell her that I'm just saying, women. I mean, men. We have this caveman attitude that's not helping anything. We want to heal the nation. We want to champion healing the nation, but when it comes down to healing literally a whole half of the other nation, a half of the nation, men don't want to do it. We want to get in our own way. We want to champion our own rights. We want to champion authority. Okay, fine. Men have the authority. But when it comes down to wielding that authority for the goodness of the home, for the goodness of the woman, a lot of us have no clue as to what that means. For too long, we've been thinking that authority means that we're supposed to have our way, that women are there as the scapegoat that we read about in the Old Testament. Well, listen, she did it. She made me do it. No. If you're the authority figure, which nobody disputes, then that means you have to take on the responsibility of the authority figure all the way. Not. You can't do a half job. You can't just take credit when things are going your way. You can't take credit when you want to pass the blame. You can't look at her and say, well, this is her fault. If she only did this, if she only did that, that's not being the authority. Being the authority means that you're the first person that I come to when things go wrong, and you're the first person to receive blame when things go wrong. Okay, because even if you want to go back to the narrative in Genesis, the Most High dealt with Adam for the mistake that Eve made. Although she was punished, she was given consequences and repercussions for it. Him being the head, the Most High didn't take his excuse. And when he said, no, but it was the woman that you gave me, it doesn't matter. The buck stops and start with you because I put you in that position. Men don't understand that being in that position, it's a scary thing. Because you're in that position, that means you can receive the greater judgment. I'm not saying condemnation. I'm saying you can receive the greater judgment. You can receive a more harsher judgment because that authority was given to you to wield it for the betterment of yourself, of the woman, and of the household. So it's not just about passing. It's not just about blame. It's not about passing the buck. It's about taking this woman, understanding that she has needs that sometimes may vary from mine, understanding that sometimes she can be a little bit emotional, which is fine, because that's how the Most High made them, and I personally wouldn't want them any other way. I don't want a mirror image of myself. I don't, I want a woman. So that also entails that sometimes I have to make decisions that are self-sacrificing. I have to make decisions that may require me to lack so that she can have, so that we can have. But at the same time, me knowing that if I do my best to keep her happy and to make her happy and to make this house a home for her, then she in turn will do the same for me. And this is what we have to understand. And to that, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Brother Ahmathyahs is turning up tonight. I know, so. Boy, look, they're like, what? This brother talking some stuff? Very interesting conversation for those who've just joined. What are the roles of men? What are the roles of women? This is what we're discussing right now. This is the relationship challenge. So we're really oftentimes taking a look at what is the consensus oftentimes. I heard the brother speak a number of times on this thought of authority and what it really means. And yes, I have seen and continue to see the thought that authority only means to do what I want you to do, but when the accountability comes, it's your fault. And that is something that we see from the very beginning, and that is something that oftentimes the women, speaking as a woman, says, okay, why am I going to listen to you when if it goes wrong, you're going to blame it on me, and if it goes right, you take the victory. And just as you said, it should be a commonality that's shared because both people, as we saw in the Genesis account, got in trouble for whatever they contributed to the conversation. There's also another narrative that's floating around in the atmosphere that if he makes all the decisions that you don't get in trouble for it as the woman. So basically, if you have you have a wicked husband and he makes the decision, you don't get in trouble for it because he's your covering. So what are the roles as it relates to what you're responsible before the Most High, whether you be male or female? Brother Awar, your thoughts?
Yeah, I know that brother got every Shylight album there is. But let me get this message. what I want to say, right, is that before us as a people, before we move forward, we have to establish a structure, or the Most High have established a structure for us so we don't make those horrific mistakes again. And what I was trying to point out with bringing all that out is that Eve was at fault and Adam was at fault. Okay? So there had to be a structure now put in place from the Almighty that we can move forward in righteousness. And we will not be confused on what positions we need to play, because that was the depth that we're in now, and the chaos is due to a misunderstanding on what positions we were supposed to play. Adam was confused on his position, and he listened to the woman, and the woman was confused on her position when she took heed to the serpent. So let me read this. This is 1 Corinthians 11, starting at 1. Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of, we say, Yahushua. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things and keep the ordinances. So this is not Paul's ordinances. These are ordinances that go way back to Genesis of our fathers, as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is the Messiah, right? Why? Because he did it perfectly. He did what was required. Okay? The Father, the structure that he had from the beginning. But let us make man in our image. The Savior didn't fumble that like Adam did. So now the authority was given to him to be the light and example. So let's look at the structure. But I would have you know that the head of every man is the Savior, Christ. And the head of the woman is the man. So look at the structure, right? And the head of Christ is the Most High. So this is what we have to examine. The Most High took initiative to put everything in its proper perspective, okay? He put everybody back in their position from the purpose that he had from the beginning. He's put the structure in so nobody get it twisted. The Most High is the one that put the structure in. Not me, not you, not women, not men. The Most High. And we have to respect that structure. So now that we got the true and appropriate structure, now we can move forward in righteousness. Why? Because this is why the earth is off course now. Because people, this society, this whole world is not respecting the structure. Okay? Man is not respecting their purpose. Yeah, they're the man, we're the men, but we're not living up to the pure standard of what the Most High set up. That's why the earth is in chaos. That's why the earth is defiled. The animals are destroyed. Man, the Israelite man, is out of order. He's not playing his position, right? The woman is out of order. She's not playing her position. So the structure now is set. We can now move forward, okay? And with that, I'm going to pass the mic.
Just for clarity, Brother Owal, because I know you reiterated that point as it relates to position. It's like back in the day, you know, in basketball, you have the name of the position, like the forward, the center, the point guard, the two guard, right? And then it has a description of what those individuals are expected to do as they're on the basketball court. That's just my basketball days back in the day. But anywho, so as you keep saying, play your position as it relates to what you just said concerning the man is the head, which everybody so far is in agreement with. But what does the position look like? Like, if he was supposed to have a resume, well, can I get some of those qualifications that may be a checklist that someone is going to be able to say, yes, you're playing your position, you're not playing your position. You understand? Like, if the center is all the way and dribbling the ball up the court, you could say, man, you weren't playing your position. You're not supposed to dribble up the court. And so this is kind of where we're going with this conversation. When we say he's playing his position, is he a provider? Is he the one supposed to be the protector? Is he supposed to be the breadwinner? Like, what are the things concerning the head that one, as a woman, they should look out for to to be able to say whether or not this person is suitable or unsuitable because they're not playing their position. So what are some of those things in your estimation?
Right. See, okay, let me use the Israelite man, right? His position is to be the world ruler. Like it says in the Proverbs, when the righteous is in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. If the Israelite man was playing his position, the whole earth would be in harmony. That's what such a position he has. Okay? So what I'm saying is, being that start with the man first, being that he's not playing his position, the whole creation, like it says in Romans, is being destroyed, is being altered. From the animals, the insects, the ocean, the earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. That's what I'm saying. So, Israelite man's position is very, very important, which if it was corrected, everybody would be at harmony. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Thank you so much. Sister Mayana, your thoughts on that question, on anything else you would like to add to the conversation? Can we get some checklist items of what exactly one is supposed to expect from either the male or the female?
Absolutely. I would really enjoy giving you that. But because such a masculine energy is currently at play, what I'm going to do is I'll yield this turn to Ahmathyah and then take it up when it's done, if that's okay.
Uh-oh. Are you about to go get hostile for red on me? Oh, chill. When Mayana heals, you got to understand she's coming back with fire. I don't know about that, Sister Mayana. You might be off for a minute. You might go write a dissertation and come back on me.
No. I'll keep it in summary.
All right. Let me check on Brother Sal before I go back to Brother Ahmathyah to see if anybody's out there. If you're out there and you have any thoughts on this conversation, feel free to press 1. Let us know some of the positions, what is to be expected of them, because you have to understand also that we're coming back from a destroyed state. Communities who have been intact for uninterrupted, they kind of know what is expected. But because our roles have been so disrupted, even in this last captivity and exile, it's all discombobulated. For this reason, we are in positions that become burdensome. We are in positions that are heavy because we don't have the proper tools as individuals to build, much less as a community to build. It's like saying, I want to build a house, but you don't know. First of all, you don't know what you're doing. A, B, you don't know about blueprints. C, you just going off the dome, and then you don't have the building material, but you have the will. And this is kind of how we approach some of these relationships and situations, is that we may have the will, but we don't have the understanding and that knowledge. So, Brother Sal, is there anybody on the line at this time, or you have any emails or social media? Feel free to let us know.
Yeah, we have a few people actually online standing by, and also I got some email questions as well. Again, people, if you're listening on social media, you know that number, 646-716-7320. If you have any questions or comments, press number 1 or add to the conversation. Title of the show, whose line is it? What roles belong to a woman and men? Let's go to the phone line. Let's go to 570-668-688. You're live on the air.
Shalom. Can everybody hear me? Hey, yes. Shalom. This is Sadiq with Kasarava.
Shalom.
Shalom. I just wanted to say that I think that the nation of Israel has played the pointing the fingers too long. And to answer the topic of the question, I'm going to say, since we're talking about the man, and how he is the head, he is the head, he is the head. Now, a lot of people say that, but what does that really mean? Because to have authority over another human being's life, what does that really mean? When we put it in, the brother said it perfect. When we put it in the perspective of the Most High, or the Messiah with his bride, Israel, what did the Messiah do for his bride? He was a protector. He was a provider. He loved his bride. He gave his life for his bride. He provided his bride with a good home. even on a level of male-female companionship, a man has so much authority that he has a huge responsibility on his shoulders. And when a man decides that he wants to become a husband, I don't think a lot of men understand the huge responsibility and weight that he has on his shoulders. Even to have the ability to annul a vow that your wife makes. In order to do that, you have to know Torah. In order to do that, you have such a great responsibility. I don't even think you all know. And then we have men that say, well, I don't need to provide for a woman. But that's not what the Most High did for you. The Most High provided land. He said he gave rain. He gave you crops so that you can increase. He even increased the goods of your womb. So I think that men are really stuck on the authority part, but with that authority, what comes with that? There comes a lot of responsibility. And I think a lot of men want to be husbands, but they're not suitable to be husbands because they don't understand the roles of being a husband. And with that, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for that, sister. Definitely, as it relates to the responsibility, and this is why we are asking these questions. Do the men, as this is where we are, not to necessarily pick, but because that's the conversation as it relates to the masculine principle, because they're head, so of course they could go first. Do you understand what this is? It's the same thing like entering into producing children. Do you understand the weight of the responsibility that you're talking about? You can say, I'm the boss of you, I'm in charge of you, but you also have to say, I'm in charge of feeding you, I'm in charge of clothing you, I'm in charge of, you see, you get in charge only because you have the responsibility of provision. And without this provision responsibility, we run into problems, and that's kind of what's going on right about now. It's the I'm the head conversation, but there are no provisions on so many scales. And as a matter of fact, like it's kind of like the roles are being reversed. And you provide for me, you secure me, and I'm still the head. So definitely very interesting, Brother Sal. Hands in the air.
Yeah, I'm still here. We got some more callers standing by. Let's go to 443-815. You're live on the air.
Hey, guys, this is Brother Mercy. This is a very good conversation. I wanted to start off with Genesis. Genesis is my favorite book, but I'm going to go over to Paul, too. And I'm going to use your analogy, the basketball analogy, because, the game is tonight. So I think this is a perfect, analogy. But, yeah, let's go to Genesis chapter 2. Chapter 1, verse 26. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Now, see, this is what brothers don't know. Them. Wow, them. Not him, them. Have dominion over the fish and sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, over every. So this is the them thing. The them thing shall rule the earth. And then, let's go to the verse a lot of people like to use in 1 Corinthians 11:3. But I want you to know that the head of every man, that's one head, is Christ. The head, that's another head. The head of the woman is man, that's two. And the head of Christ, that's three heads. See, this is what brothers don't understand. There's more than one head. And if you know anything about a basketball team, going to your analogy, the point guard kind of runs the floor. He's kind of like the head on the floor. And see, that's what brothers are. We kind of like the head on the basketball court. But see, we all play for a coach. And see, the coach really called the plays. But the coach, that's not the end of it. The coach got a general manager that he has to answer to. But that's not the end of it. The general manager has a head. That's the owner. And every player knows the only opinion that matters is the opinion of the owner, because he signs everybody's check. So there's really only one head to a body, but you got other heads. You know what I'm saying? But there's only one real head. And that's what brothers got to keep in mind. You only got one real head, and that's God. But, he might let you play the point guard and get some assists, every now and then. But really and truly, you work for somebody, and you get your paycheck from somewhere else. And see, brothers need to understand that. Because you got a boss, you got to answer to. And I want to go to the verse, a lot of brothers, and last in Genesis, where it talks about where God talks to the man and the woman. And there's another thing men do. They always think they're responsible for the woman. You're never responsible for the woman. God held man accountable for what he did. But he said, "What have you done, Adam? What have you done, Adam? What have you done?" Keep telling brothers, what has Adam done? That's what God asked Adam, what he did. And then he went to talk to the woman, asked her what she did. Then he went to, so each time God is going to judge man for what he does. He's going to judge woman for what she does. And then he tells the woman, because she did what she did, her desire be the husband, and the man shall rule over thee. See, this is a sentence or a punishment for their actions. See, a lot of people don't understand this is a punishment, but it doesn't correct the problem. Because a lot of times, although parents punish kids, it don't really correct kids, because kids still mess up even after the punishment. Because I got punished my whole childhood life, and I still made mistakes when I got older. So, it helps, but it doesn't totally correct the problem. You still going to make mistakes. And we see that today. The men are trying to rule the woman, and we still got a problem. We got the woman, her desire to the man. We still got the problem. But we have to go back to the beginning, all the way back to the beginning in Genesis chapter 1, where we rule together. If we rule together, we'll be all right. But that's all I had to say. That's it.
All right, that was the voice of Brother Mercy. He brought us some very interesting and important points because, as you just stated, and you went back to the Genesis account, a lot of times and your desire should be towards your husband is thought to be something that's automatic. It's something that she actually has to do. She has, because if she doesn't willingly do it, now it's going to be a matter of where people are trying to force other people to do what they want. You understand? And this submission that it's her choice. Because she can choose not to do it or she can choose to do it. Now, if she chooses to do it, and like Brother Mercy says, and you are ruling together and know ultimately because of my propensity to maybe go off on my curiosity or whatever, then I'm going to make sure that I don't go off unless we have a consensus of whatever the conversation is. And this way we're not dealing with, in that analogy of parents to child, because some people enter the conversation by thinking that the women are their children. And this is also a thing that I see amongst the men in our community and out. I need a woman who I can teach. And we've said this in times past, that when you actually get a wife, she would have been reared up to the point where she is qualified to be a wife. And here we go back to the conversation. Whose line is it? If you're teaching her how to do everything that she needs to do, that means she wasn't trained properly. And then now you're coming to the conversation where she is now your child, as opposed to she is your helpmate, she is your counterpart, she is your Isaiah. How can she help you when she can't even help herself? Interesting, Brother Sal. Your thoughts before we go back to the panel.
We don't have any more callers, actually. I got some emails, though. Let me go read the emails here. We have one email from Daniel. I appreciate you, Daniel. It says, great show, Sal, so Tom. I want to know from the gentlemen on the panel, how do they feel about men? How do they feel about men cooking and cleaning within the home? Does this make them effeminate? Is this a form of role reversal? A water swordsman.
No, that's why I said that in Genesis. Let them have dominion. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I cook, I clean, I do all that. I'm not coming from a perspective like, that's a woman's thing. This is how, like a body. When you look at the head on the body, it controls the arm, it controls the fingers, it controls the toes, the legs. It has a great it does a lot of things. And that's a component of a man. A man should be able to run his household on all levels, besides there's other stuff, but like stuff like cleaning and cooking and all that, I do all that. I don't say I don't do that. I do it all. But that's just me. I mean, some people don't run like that.
Yeah. Ahmathyahs?
Okay. I think we pretty much have it established that the man is the authority. at the same time too, I think it's also important for us to give that some kind of structure, to kind of take that clay and to mold it so that we can so that we as a people can know exactly what that image looks like. Even when we go back into the narrative of Genesis, the whole book actually, especially in the beginning where the Most High set down laws, we have to understand that these specific laws, including the structure of the family, was not just given to Israel. Proverbs 29, where it talks about the righteous reign, is not specifically talking about Israel. You can be righteous and not be Israel. Being righteousness has nothing to do with being Israel. They are not linked. They are not synonymous to one another. What is righteous is that you take the laws that the Most High gave man and that you apply them. Yes, there were certain laws that were unique to Israel, but there were also general laws that the Most High gave to all mankind, as far as sexual practices, as far as the structure of the home, as far as lying, as far as adultery. You see certain motifs and certain laws that were given to all mankind, even to the point where even after the law was given, you have plenty of examples of the Most High punishing Gentile nations because they broke the law. Not the law that was given unto Israel as far as the priesthood, and the dietary law, and so on and so forth, but there were laws that were given to all mankind. And when a nation other than Israel broke them, the Most High dealt with them. And this law that we're talking about right now, as far as the what the home should look like, is also one of those things. So righteousness has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not if you're an Israelite, a Hamite. That really, righteousness has no color. In that regard, it has no nationality. It has to do with you obeying what the Most High gave you to do as a man, not as a Israelite man. Your bloodline, your nationality, your race, your ethnic background means absolutely nothing. It's fodder. In addition to that, when it comes down to it taking root, like I said before, if we as men are going to take the masculine, we're going to take the headship role, then we have to take and accept responsibility for the house, which naturally includes the woman who is a part of the house, which also includes the children. When you read the love that we're supposed to have towards the woman, like it talks about in Ephesians 5:25, the love that's there is actually the word agape. It's a verb. In Greek, that's the highest form of love. Greek, like other languages, may have a word like love. Like English has the word love. In English, we say love, and we say that across the board. In other words, the love, I would say, I love you to my wife the same way how I would say I love you to my mother. But because of who I'm talking to in the context, you would know that the love is different. I don't love my wife the same way I love my mom. Greek, unlike many other languages, Spanish, for example, right, including Hebrew, would have different words to express those things. Whereas the word love that I would say I love you to my wife is not the same word that I would say I love you to my mother with. The love that's being used, that we are commanded to express towards our women, is the highest form of love. It's the sacrificial love. The sacrificial love. It's the love that's giving. It's the love that's not selfish. It's the love that wants to uplift the target above itself. So with that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a man cooking in the home. You know, I believe that if a woman wants to, I believe that a woman should know how to cook in order for her to fulfill her role. And if she doesn't, she can also, she can learn. I don't see a problem with a man taking the time to cook for the woman, the time to clean for the woman. I don't see nothing wrong with taking the time to have something. For example, I see nothing wrong with taking the time to having a candlelight dinner that the man made for the woman to have a romantic evening at home. There's absolutely nothing like that. I personally see that women love men who know how to cook. Women love a man that knows how to be domesticated, not weak, but domesticated in the sense that he can take care of the home with her. He can help her clean. He can help her around the house. He's able to show that he is a home body alongside with the woman to nurture the house, everything that's in the house, including her. So when it comes down, I'm mainly concentrating on the men, although I know that women obviously have a part to play, is because since men want to champion the fact that they are the head, which I naturally agree with, then the target should be on our backs first to get ourselves correct, to give ourselves a model to look towards so that we can know what to do and how to love our women, how not to approach them as cavemen, because Israelite men always want to champion the fact that, the Israelites in the world should look to them for leadership. Whether that's true or not is a discussion for another day. But when it comes down to leadership, why not lead the world on how to love women? Why not show the other nations, listen, you a woman, you want to make her feel special, you want to make her feel that she's the only woman on the planet, this is how you do it, okay? You want to cater to her sensitivity, you want to make her feel like her words matter, like she's worth something, you want to set an example on how, you want to set an example so that your daughter can look at to say, okay, well, when I grow up and when I get married, I want to marry my father, in the sense that I want to marry somebody that's going to treat me the same way I saw my father treat my mother. Okay, so when it comes down to that, it's half art and half science, and we have to understand that. Like I said, we men have to get out of our own way. Understand that when it comes down to cultivating a relationship with this woman, when it comes down to her being able to trust me with this leadership position, because her trust is necessary, her trust is needed. So her admiration and her adoration, okay, that I can prove myself worthy of that. Yes, the Most High gave it to me, okay, but He didn't give it to me for me to lord over her, for me to just pound her into the ground. I'm supposed to take this authority that He gives to me, and I'm supposed to treat her like a tender plant, water her, lift her up, take care of her, okay, so that in turn she can be strong enough to reciprocate not just to me, but to the people of to everyone inside the house. And sometimes that may mean that men have to think outside the box and be unconventional. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and pass the mic.
All right, once again, it's the Debate Talk for You, the Relationship Challenge. Whose line is it? What roles belong to women and men? I think I have two more questions in the email. Let me see. Here we go. It says, I believe a woman's perception of a man's role today has been blown totally out of proportion. Ladies on the panel, do you think men should keep the same standard as it was back in the day, such as man should work, but a woman should stay home, etc.? All right, let's go to Amuna.
It's funny because this conversation comes up quite frequently, how we use time dating or to change, what something is designed for or people are designed for. When you look at the fact that the provision of the man, and even when we talk about Genesis where the Creator is saying, okay, in this area is where I'm going to make it more difficult for you, and in this area I'm going to make it more difficult for you, it kind of lends to us understanding what our roles were initially. This is just in my estimation, right? And so if she steps out of her space, which is now to govern the interior and build up the interior of the home, right? And if she steps out of that space to try and build the exterior of the home, then interior-wise, you're going to have a shortage. In the same way, if the roles are, because everybody is given what they are equipped to. Time doesn't change that. Everybody is given a certain function that innately within them they have to be able to do the job that the Most High gave them to do. It's the responsibility of family, parents and community to teach you culturally what's expected of you. So he needs to, the masculine energy needs to build, because even in his name, Bain, you see Bana, which is building. And in Bat, which is daughter, you see house, which is the same debate in the top. So you see within their names in the Hebraic culture their function. It doesn't mean that she's captive in the house. It means that this is where that patience and that love and that ability to nourish, that's her spot. Now they're going to overlap, kind of like that Venn diagram. They have a space where they overlap. One does not absorb the other. But in today's time, just to prove my point, and I'll pass it on, when we see the single mother who has to sometimes, most times, because of circumstances and situations, take on the responsibility of both, we see the stress that it creates. Because not only now is she responsible for making sure you have food, clothes, and shelter, provision and protection, she's also responsible for nourishing you. And this is why we see in the Torah, the Most High says, remember the orphan, the widow, because if you're widowed at a young age, you're the single mother. Like, it doesn't say single mother in Torah, but oftentimes the widow doesn't necessarily have to be old. And that's that single mother who the Most High is saying, hey, as a community, you look out for these people, because you know that there's going to be a shortage somewhere. So as it relates to space and time and where we are, I personally don't think that it changes so drastically, where is that now he gets to say now he's going to be the feminine principle and you be the masculine. Because if you reverse roles like that, then automatically if she's going to be in that space, she's going to be, then the Apocrypha speaks about it, she's going to start to feel a kind of way, because that's not really where she's supposed to occupy on an ongoing basis. Can she have income? Yes. Can she contribute to the household? Yes. But primarily, taking care of your children or even the interior of your home is a full-time job. And when she's on her job, then you're not eating Sara Lee. When she's on her job, you're not eating Betty Crocker. When she's on her job, then she can nourish her family and you're healthy. But when she's not on her job because she has to do your job, well, then we begin to see a lot of decline within the interior of the home. But with that, I'll go ahead and give the mic over to Sister Mayana. Shalom?
Shalom.
There you go.
All right. So, okay, well, I'm going to hit on many of the points that are important to answering that question. And as she stated, there are predictable consequences when the rules are reversed, especially in the areas of provision and protection and things of the like. As she stated, it's in the Apocrypha, the 25th chapter and the 22nd verse. These predictable consequences are recorded. States, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. It's not uncommon to hear, in fact, it's very common to hear the men in particular be extraordinarily well versed in what the curses were for the woman in Genesis 3. But interestingly enough, they tend to omit the curses that went down to them. Cursed is the ground for your sake, and toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return. So much ado is often made of, men are having to work extra hard. Things are so hard for the men. Everything is very, very difficult for the men, and it's very easy to blame that on the women. The women are taking up all the jobs. The women have entered into these Faustian deals with the man and have usurped the authority of the men, and this is all clearly the fault of the feminist revolution. However, we find that the men having to work and the men having to struggle is, in fact, the result of Genesis 3. You have to work is going to be difficult. It says thorns and thistles. That's not soft and fluffy. That hurts. It's the struggle. So the struggle that you're experiencing, the fact that this is difficult, this was your judgment in Genesis, not the 60s, Genesis. So this, again, it goes back to this idea of playing the blame game. Women are not supposed to occupy spaces like this where the Most High, it wasn't the women that are telling you that you have to work to provide. We're not trying to emasculate you by asking you to be the head in more than just name, in more than just, you use your outside voice to roar that you have this authority and that you are the head. But then when it comes to actually performing, the performative aspects of being the authority, the performative aspects of being the leader, the woman feeling that she can depend on you because of the deeds you have shown. A woman is supposed to be able to, again, I mentioned earlier about the woman's desire being to her husband. It's something that she has to consciously enter into. It's a space that she consciously enters into and submits to deliberately. But that happens when she feels that she can. When he creates a space where she can feel vulnerable, where she understands that she's secure, and that she can depend on this guy. So, yes, it's important for men to occupy those roles and for women to not force herself into spaces that belong to them. There's no way for a woman to submit to a role that she has in her head she can do herself. And she has in her head that she doesn't want a man to have that space. She doesn't want to relinquish control, that she doesn't want to be vulnerable. She doesn't feel that she can do that. Then there's going to be disharmony in that home. And earlier, the question was a very good question that was actually posed to the men about cooking. For example, it was good to hear them both say that they did not feel that was a uniquely feminine role, because the scriptures don't bear out that women were uniquely tasked with cooking. In fact, we see Jacob, when Jacob is having his encounter with Esau, what is he doing? He is cooking. He's so very clearly cooking. So the idea that cooking is something that men cannot do or should not do because it's uniquely the purview of women, that is obviously incorrect. There are things that women are uniquely tasked to do. Cooking isn't necessarily one of those things. But I think that it is important to discuss what those roles are in the home. And prayerfully, before our time is out, we'll be able to kind of flesh those roles out and, like Sister Amuna stated, have a sort of checklist established for these are the things that women should be occupying, and these are the things that men should be occupying, specifically in the context of the home. Maybe in another discussion we can talk about the culture in general, but specifically in the home, the men and the women have a particular task, and the men should be the protectors, the providers, and the leaders. And with that, I yield the floor.
All right, let's I guess we're gonna try to get the male perspective. Of one, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I want to say something. In my journey in life, what I found out, a lot of people don't know the difference between a man and a boy and a woman and a little girl. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. You know what the difference is? A man take initiative and a woman take initiative. A little boy don't and a little girl doesn't take initiative. I'm going to give an example of taking initiative, and then I'm going to answer the question about should a woman work. This is going to answer Proverbs 31, starting at 10. The greatest example how we should raise our daughters and how women should conduct themselves and how we need to move and how men need to move and how they need to teach their sons. This is Proverbs 31:10. It says, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." It says, "The heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her." There's a reason why the husband trusts in this woman, okay? Because she does something that makes him trust in her. Okay, she takes initiative. Then it says, so that he shall have no need of spoil. What that means? Extra necessities. Okay? When a woman sees things need to be done, okay, I can like I like the sister Mona. I watch her. And she's always doing something to make a little change. That's a virtuous sister. You know, and sisters should pattern themselves like that. Every time I look on Facebook, she's doing something to make extra change. Okay? She takes initiative. I watch her, you know, I said that the other day to her. She made some little flower thing. And I told her, I said, that's nice. But I was looking at that. I said, every time I see this sister, she's taking initiative. And there's a lot of sisters like that. But let me read. It says, the heart of her husband doeth safely trusting her, so that he shall have no need of spare. Now, this can happen. What if a man gets sick or whatever, or fall in some diverse temptation, you know, fall in a bad situation? He trusts his wife because he knows his wife's going to take initiative to get things done that he's sure on. There's situations, but a boy's not going to do that. He's not going to care. He's going to go get his Xbox. Then it says, she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Even a woman understand that. If a man is having a hard time, instead of saying, get up, you bum, go get a job, or aggravate him, she understands and take initiative to make it better. A lot of women don't understand these sciences that our fathers had. And I'm going to read one more. It says, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly. Nobody said, go do this. Hey, she did this. She took initiative. A lot of women don't understand that. Take initiative. She willingly says what? I'm reading again. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She don't lay back and wait for him to bring home the bacon. Finds ways to make extra change. Okay? Why? Because I'm going to read this part. It says, Proverbs 31:23, her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. What is that talking about? In ancient times, the men, some of the men, they were in the government of the nation, and they were occupied with the affairs of the nation, so they didn't have the time to go out and labor all that time. So the women took initiative. A virtuous woman would take initiative to handle that. That's all I'm saying. So for a woman to think she's going to sit down and not do nothing while the man is out there, no. These women take initiative. They dealt with real estate. They bought land. They tell you the whole thing. You need to teach your daughters this, to pattern themselves after a sister like this, a virtuous woman. So I'm going to pass the mic.
All right, Ahmathyah. Ahmathyah, are you there? Are you there? Ahmathyah?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Okay. So we're talking about, again, the male role model, or the structure, what it should look like. And I'm appreciative that Award brought up Proverbs 31, and he spoke about the virtuous woman. And I definitely do like it, except for the fact that Proverbs 31 is not talking about a rule per se. A woman taking the initiative to do something, that's one thing, which is fine. You can pat her on the back for that all day. But that's not describing the role that she's supposed to have in the home per se. It really doesn't go into that. Yes, you can praise a woman for taking initiative and buying real estate and so on and so forth, except, that's not really, what that's saying. Because if she can do all that, by herself, she really doesn't need the man, now does she? But we do see specific verses where it talks about the leadership, the position that the man is supposed to play in the home. One of the first things that we're brought back to in the New Testament is the attitude in which the man is supposed to take care or approach this woman with, which is, like I said, love. The scriptures let us know that the Most High is love. So we're supposed to take that same kind of love and emulate that throughout our relationships with the woman. So when it comes down to that, we can, champion what the women are supposed to do all day. But if we don't set up a framework as far as what we're supposed to do, if we don't treat and understand that we're supposed to sow into them so that they can bring forth fruit, the kind of fruit that Proverbs 31 is talking about, then a woman won't have a real reason to take the initiative that, or what was right for bringing out in Proverbs 31. She's not going to have a reason to do it. Why would she take the initiative and do all of those things if you as the husband, if you as the masculine principal, if you as the leader is not taking the initiative to do your role? Okay? What ammunition, what encouragement, what energy, what motivation are you giving her to do all of those things for you or for the house? Because like I said, if it starts with us, then it also has to end with us. We read about that in Ephesians 5:22, 1 Peter 3:7, 1 Peter 3:1. We can go into the specific verses that talk about this topic specifically, where it talks about the role men are supposed to have with the women, and the role and the attitude that the women are supposed to have towards the men. And I'm specifically stressing the men is because we are in the authority in the sense that we hold a particular position that's unique. So because we are the first ones to be judged if things go right, then it's important for us to get our roles in perspective so that the women can get their roles in perspective, so that we can make room for them to error when need be. We can make room for them to trust us, to understand that this authority that we're given by the Most High God, that we're not going to use it as a blunt instrument or as a weapon against them, but we're going to take it and yield it with kindness, with mercy, with love, with gentleness, with their betterment in mind. So, like I said, when we're talking about nation building, we have to understand that women are literally the half of that nation. So we have to heal them. There's a lot of things that's going on within our nation which is not right due to the fact that the home is out of whack, and we as men need to take accountability for that and responsibility for that by looking inward and say, you know what, let's get ourselves in order so that we can be a good example onto our wives, be good examples onto our sisters, our daughters, okay, to the feminine, to the women of the nation, to allow them to trust us again, so that we can feed into them the love that the Most High commanded us to do, so that they in turn can reciprocate. And with that, I do the floor.
All right. This is the Relationship Challenge 16. I see we have a lot of folks in show. 647 1 to look at the conversation. I have two more email questions, but one, you want to go on or you want to take some of the email questions now?
My brother, so I'll take the calls from the people. It's all good.
Yeah, we actually in the email. Let's see what it says here. It says, when you meet a person for the first time, are there any signs to look for when it comes to a narcissistic man or woman? Narcissistic symptoms include an excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, and inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. I'll read that again. When you meet a person for the first time, are there any signs to look for when it comes to a narcissistic man or woman? And he left the symptoms. Symptoms include an excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, and inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. All right, let's go to Mayana.
Shalom, yeah, well, That's a good question, but in some regards, it sounds like the question was both asked and answered. Those symptoms are what you would look for early on, and very specifically those things that were stated. If the question is, how do you get to those points to see those things manifest as early as possible, then my answer to that would be dialogue. You ask very specific questions. I think that a good question to ask anyone you are considering a marriage with is to ask them, well, what does marriage look like to you? Ask them, what things do you expect from a wife? What kind of things do you expect to give to a wife? What does that home life look like to you? And in hearing those answers, you'll get an idea of whether or not the person is very self-centered in their expectations. You'll also get to learn whether or not you can do the things that they expect, whether or not the things they expect line up with Torah, whether or not the things they believe are their roles to fill line up with Torah. If you are concerned with the person may have an overinflated sense of entitlement, some of that will come out in that question too. If they have demands that require, adoration. But adoration is close to worship. I think adoration is French for worship, as a matter of fact. So if they're looking for that, if they are saying, they're demanding a lot of attention from you, and, that'll happen. If you are not permitted to have a thought outside of what they are thinking, or if you're not allowed to have a voice outside of the words they have provided you, if you are not allowed to interrogate information, if you're not allowed to read books, watch things, and have your contribution be accepted and received and considered, then those are the type of things you should take notice of. People tell you about themselves. That's another thing. I think that what women, and maybe men as well, I've never been a man, but my experience in being a woman and being around many women and having conversations with them, it is, in my experience, women tend to not listen to what the men are saying. And men will very often tell you all about themselves, but women want to believe that he doesn't really mean it for her. That has to do with whatever woman was before her. She can change him. She can make adjustments to him. Things are going to change, and that's a problem. You listen to a man. If a man tells you that he's not interested in what you have to say, pay attention to that. Write that down. Take note of that, because that's not going to change. That's how he feels about women. And there's really not just that, it's going to sound terrible, but there's nothing that special about you. He's going to change just because it's you. So you have to listen to people and what they tell you about themselves, and consider that. In a lot of ways, that will, that shows a degree of respect for that person, to understand that person and what they are saying. So that's my answer to that particular question. Sis, what do you think?
Oh, I'm here. The question about the narcissist is very interesting as we are becoming more aware. Mayana said some really good points, as we're becoming more aware, especially space where we are, coming out of a lot of lies, a lot of, hurt, a lot of pain. Okay, check it out. Narcissists, the thing is this, there's a lot of information going around, and I've studied a good amount of it over the years. They don't always appear the same way. So the thing is that narcissists are a type of chameleons, and they can mimic you. And so there will be an appearance like I do care. It's not always the flamboyant, over the top, you know what I'm saying? The person thinks they're King Dawi, come back. It's not always that. There can be, and the thing with narcissism is you have to observe it over a period of time, because, like Sister Mary was saying, listen to what is being said, but you have to you have to be able to see it in all different lights, and then eventually begin to see the mask fall off. I would say that we the people, because narcissism also comes in women as well. It's usually spoken about as men, but no, the female narcissist is like off the chain as well. So the point of the matter is when you think you have a narcissist, and they're not the only type of maladaptive behaviors out there. You have the codependent. You might be the type of individual who's attracting the narcissist. You might either be a narcissist yourself or a codependent type individual who's attracted to this type of person. So I would say for that individual, you have to know you. And if you haven't gone through your own cleansing and your own purging process, chances are you're setting yourself up to attract somebody that's just as broken as you are. And so hopefully that helped. Definitely use your vibration and refer back to what we had a couple of shows ago. It's always good to try to source the people. Do I need my family and friends or my family's approval before going further with people? You know, when you have sidebar conversations, people can say whatever they want during pillow talk. But when they're out in the public or when you're in different spaces where people have different eyes on them, whether it be your father, your mother, your aunt, your uncle, your granny, some other person who is not as vested as you are emotionally and can objectively look at the situation and give you feedback. So in those things, don't go it alone and seek counsel.
All right, I see we got some people standing up. I'm going to get to the men on the panel, but let me take some of these calls real quick. Let's go to 734-340. Who am I speaking to? 734-340. Can you hear me? All right, 734. All right, we're going to move on to the next person. 347-465. Live and in.
Hey, shalom, brother.
Shalom.
Shalom. I mean, we've been speaking the last couple of days, the last couple of nights. I just tuned in because you gave me a message of just what you were doing. I'm just listening. And I'll listen a little more.
Yeah, it's kind of windy where you at, brother.
Yeah. I'm over here near I'm in here in Brooklyn. You know, but yeah, I'm just listening. I just got up there because you gave me a message earlier. All
right, man. I appreciate you.
I'm just trying to.
I'm sorry about that, bro. Hold on.
Shalom.
Yeah, what you were saying? Okay, I got you. I appreciate you for tuning in, though. All right, so let me try 734 again. 734. Can you hear me now? 734. 734-340. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. How you doing? Mm-hmm.
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I had a question. It's kind of for the sisters. How do the sisters feel that the brothers? Do they feel that the brothers are up to par? I mean, do they feel that the brothers are on the same level as the sisters nowadays? Because I hear there's a lot of educated sisters that feel like there's not enough educated brothers that are on their level. I was wondering what the sisters think about that.
All right, good question. What's going on, Mariana?
Well, in terms of education, we're talking about formal or institutional education. The statistics bear out that higher education, the men aren't necessarily going into those spaces. So statistically speaking, the men are not receiving formal education. Now, whether or not the women need to fault them or look down on them for not having formal education, I think is separate from thinking about whether or not these men are capable providers, because there are other legal means of providing. You know, if a person is able to bring home income, have some type of livelihood because of a trade or some other method, all things don't have to be academic in that way. Now, if we're talking about in terms of understanding the culture, even in those spaces, the men have had more time in studying, and they have been more organized in terms of study and have, in many ways, monopolized study. But recently, women have felt more at ease with reading on their own and studying the culture, applying the culture, and establishing standards. And I think that's the problem. I think that when women start to have expectations and standards of our men, be it because of academia or even spiritual knowledge, the men become defensive and they become a bit offended because the women are saying that we have expectations of you. You know, again, we'll go back to the topic where the men are very freely touting their leadership and their authoritative roles, and when the women are saying, okay, you know, we hear you, all right, you're the leader, but what are you leading? Why is that, you know, and they start to ask questions about the things that the men have been
what are
saying.
the expectations that the women have?
I'm sorry, sir, what did you say?
I'm sorry, what were the expectations that the females have for the men?
Okay, that's a great question because it goes back to our topic. The kind of question, like for example, from what I have heard and what I have experienced, the women saying is that we would love to see the men step up, and assume these roles of being a provider. A lot of the onus and a lot of the burden has been on women, and for the most part, the women are actually faulted. The women are faulted for succeeding. The women are faulted for having income. And so when the women say, well, great, you guys have some income. You guys go ahead and be the leader. You pay a bill. All of a sudden, the women are gold diggers, and the women are criminalized for having those types of expectations that maybe the male would have some kind of financial leadership. If the woman starts to say, okay, fine, I can cook, can you fix the sink? That's a problem for the men. Why do you have expectations of me? Why do I have to fix the sink? Why can't I play Xbox? Why, you know, so the things that, yeah, I'm listening, sir.
Why would a black male perceive a female's expectations as something that's negative instead of something that's positive and beneficial to the relationship?
I think that's a better question for the men. I have no idea because that's one of the things that the women have been asking all along. We have been asking because the men are faulting. It's not all men. I want to be very clear, not to generalize too widely. But some men, those that feel this way, are pushing against the women who say, you know, if a woman says she would like a husband that is employed, the men will employ hyperbole and say, oh, why do I have to have a six-figure job? Okay, she didn't say you had to have a six-figure job. She just said you had to have a job. I don't know why the men are doing that. That is a brilliant question. I would ask this.
But you know what's interesting though, and I'm not trying to offend anybody on the show, but I think a female should know how a man thinks. And one of the interesting thing about lesbians is that because lesbians they try and think like a man thinks, even though they're not really a man, but because they make an effort in trying to perceive things how a man does, they actually kind of know how men think. What do you think about that?
Oh, okay. I've never been a lesbian, so I can't confirm that that's how lesbians think or how they're, or whether or not they're successful.
Well, no. Well, what I'm saying is that lesbians try and imitate men. Like they wear men's clothing, they'll play basketball, and of course they try and master a man's psychology, you know, so they can attract a female. So in their attempt to try and master a man's psychology, they have learned how men think to a degree. They do know how men think. And so what I was thinking, I was like, maybe the girly girl, the feminine girl, the prissy girl could take a little bit of lessons from the butch female and kind of learn how her man thinks. And that's why I pitched that question at you, because I felt like you were one of those types of females that might not quite know how a man thinks. And that's why I aimed the question at you. I said, why would a man be offended at a female asking the male to step up to the plate when the end result is something that's beneficial for both parties. And so the female is like, well, I don't understand why the male would do that. That's because she doesn't understand male psychology and how men think. So a lot of the men that you would...
I'm going to stop. Let's be clear. What happened is that you said you don't understand why a man would respond that way and asked me to give you an answer. Hearing from your tone, I would suspect that you are a man, and having you say to me and reveal to the listening audience and the panel that you don't know why a man would say that or respond that way, and I think a better point than me not knowing. Furthermore, what I would suggest and the manner in which I approach these things is my expectation is that if I ask a man what he thinks and what he needs and what he would like from me, that he would be honest with me and say, these are the things that I need. These are the ways that I need to be treated, the things that I want to experience with you. These are the things that I need from you. And I think that it's a fair expectation for an adult male to simply be honest about what he needs. I don't want to play psychological games with an adult. I would like him to be honest with me. I don't
Are most males honest in that way?
Allow me to finish. I would not expect a man to guess what I am thinking. Neither would I expect for him to have a degree in female psychology. If he asks me, Mayana, what's wrong? What do you need? I should be able to say to him, this is a problem for me. This is not okay. You made me feel this way when this happened. In the future, I need us to do this instead. Or let's think about what we can do instead. He should not have to have a degree in psychology to have a conversation with me. And that's my perspective in terms of communication. I think that honesty is the best way to approach it. I don't think that the Most High or the Torah would disagree with me. Neither would I think that the Most High would expect me to take a page out of the book of lesbians in order to have a successful relationship with the man. But with that, I yield the floor because I could be wrong.
Let me get a male perspective on what you said too. You can stand by. Let's go to War. Want to say anything on War? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's what I was talking about when I said for women taking initiative, right? Like, women don't understand that a man love a woman more than a woman can love a man. So if women understood that and knew that, then you would rehearse something that, you would do things that would make him more, at peace, where he's going to give you an abundance of love anyway. But a lot of women fight against that, okay, and do things to get on that man's nerve. And I like what the brother said, like he went into that, like why a lot of women, he hit a point that made me think. A lot of women do not understand the nature of a man, okay? They don't take initiative to learn that. That's why you have a lot of complications in these households. That's all I wanted to say.
That's pretty good. I also had another question for the sister. Do you believe that the Torah or the Bible could create a foundation for the basis of a relationship between a man and a woman? Because I've been hearing a few radical things through the grapevine, because I think that there are some things in the Torah that can enhance a relationship. But then I heard this brother from New York, he was saying, well, if I get a wife and in the Torah it says I can have another wife. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, well, it seems to me like the brothers can barely handle the one sister that they have now, and now they're using the Torah to justify having a second and perhaps even a third wife. Like, I was watching this documentary on this place called Dimona, Israel, and that's about a group of African Americans that had fled Chicago in the 1960s, and they moved to this nuclear facility in Arizona or something like that, this Israelite community, and they look like they're doing really well. But a few of the brothers there had multiple wives, and I was kind of confused, and I was like, why do they feel the need to have all these wives? And and so these brothers were doing that here in the United States too. Like they wanted more wives, and they were trying to use the Torah to justify that. So I had a question for the sisters. Would it be okay if brothers used the Torah to justify adding more wives if they were already married?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad that you asked it. In fact, our final segment will address polygyny specifically. And your question is a good one because your question asks, can Torah be used to justify those things? You asked the sisters, both of us, two things. You asked if the Torah was a good place for foundation, and is it okay for the men to use Torah to justify adding wives into themselves? And my answer to that is yes, Torah is an amazing, amazing place to begin to understand the foundation of a good relationship between men and women, because as we have been discussing, Genesis gives us a lot of foundation as to, or it gives us the first foundation as to the structure of the home, that the woman will have her desire to her husband, and that the husband has a leadership role, and the husband has the onus of protection and provision. We find that in Genesis 2, that the first office ever given to a man is husband. It's husbandry. As I'm sure there are a few men in the audience, listening audience, that are kind of in their skin because Ahmathyahs is speaking so much about nurturing and putting a lot of attention into women. But the fact is that the first thing that Adam was ever told to do was to keep the garden, and that's just a lot of attention, a lot of nurturing, because the idea is for you to bring forth good fruits. Men are supposed to do that. Their first office is to be a husband. We also find that it's in the Torah that the expectations of how you gain a woman, what goes into the marriage steps, are found in the Torah. The fact that after being married, a man is not charged with work or war for a full year, specifically to keep his wife happy for that first year. And the reason that you need a year to do that is to cultivate the relationship, because she has left her family, she has left her network to be in this man's household. So they are going to create this environment where she feels safe, where she can be vulnerable to him, because in some cases he was essentially a stranger to her. So the relationship had to cultivate. So he was not distracted with work or war, which is two of the ways that men made money in that time. A soldier was well paid. If I was going to work, you get payment. So for a full year, this man did nothing but cultivate his home. Now, speaking about polygyny and the addition of wives, now there are ways that this is sanctioned. It was not a Tuesday thing. It wasn't because the guy woke up with a hankering for a new woman. The fact that you might run into some men that have that very informal and kind of way of thinking about it is not Torah's fault, but rather it is the lens of the man that you are hearing this from or coming into contact with. Reading the Torah itself, you will find that our culture is far more structured, far more dignified, and we have a lot of bad information that is circulating. And I would encourage you to hear that final segment to get more insight on how polygyny really occurred in Torah, aside from, because we are very familiar with the Demona example that you gave, and I would love to be able to have conversations with you outside of this forum because we have a time restriction. But thank you so much for those really, really great questions. If there's anyone else that would like to speak to our brother, I'll yield the mic.
Thank you for answering those questions. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, we appreciate the call, man. That's what it's all about. And once again, it's Debate Talk for You Radio. You know that number, 646-716-7320. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know the narcissistic question. Let me read that question again for the gentleman. Let's go back to the question for the brothers. It says, when you meet a person for the first time, are there any signs to look for when it comes to a narcissistic man or woman? Let's go to Ahmathyahs.
Okay. Oof, that was a lot. I would most definitely say yes, because narcissistic people, narcissism by definition, are about themselves. Narcissism. When you look at it, the whole point of narcissism is that they fall in love with themselves. They think that the mirror image of themselves is beautiful, and it's the very portrait of God Himself, right? So the way that you can tell if a man is narcissistic, and a woman as well, is that you take the time to listen to them during the whole dating process. When somebody tells you about themselves, you believe them, okay? When someone is not talking about how, specifically the man, since you're asking about a man, listen, ladies, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a man coming to you to present his resume, okay? For him to come to you and to explain to you what he can do for you, how he can be a father to your unborn children, explaining to you that his credit score is such and such, that he can afford X, Y, Z, take you to ABC, and that you can go out to eat at 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm not saying that these things should be the catalyst or the reasons as to why you should be with the person, okay? Or, I'm not saying that if a man doesn't have these things, that you should be afraid to come into a relationship with him and to potentially build these things together. You can do all of these things. But the point is, you have to be able to look back, to sit down, and to really listen and to examine the words that are coming out of his mouth. So if he's not talking about what he can give to you, not just to you, but to the relationship as a whole, okay, how he can lead you closer to the Most High, because that's first and foremost, that should be his duty. In addition to that, what he can provide, how he can provide, like I said, to pretty much show you a resume, because men are not shy in asking you for yours. What you can cook, how you can cook, who taught you, what age did you start cooking, all right? Can you tell the difference between a mop and a broom? What kind of detergent do you like to use when washing the dishes? Men don't have a problem with asking questions, but predominantly during the dating process, it's the men who's asking the questions. Women ask questions when it's too late, when the marriage certificate is done, signed, sealed, and delivered. Now you want to know what kind of man that I am? Now you're interested? No. These are questions that you're supposed to be asking prior to the whole marriage. You're supposed to try to get to know the individual, to see how he thinks, as far as where his mental mind state is, if he's an adult, if he is able to make decisions well, if he is able to comprehend well, if he himself can listen. How is his listening skills? Is he attentive to you? Okay? Is he someone that can sit down with you and come to a rational decision when it comes down to problem solving? Is he about finding the common ground to a solution? And when a common ground cannot be reached, will his answer be the best answer that there is, led by God? Okay? You're supposed to be able to ask these questions up front. And please, don't be shy, all right? Because these are the kind of questions that I would hope that you would want your daughter to ask and to be inquisitive about when she meets her potential husband, all right? Because I'm sure the men as well as the women don't want their daughters dating a bum dude. And so you have expectations. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having expectations. There's absolutely nothing wrong with setting a bar, all right, as long as it's not unreasonable, but setting a bar and setting standards for yourself and demanding a man reach those standards. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we do it. At least I know I do. Men do that. Men don't have a problem with that, okay? So talk to him. And like I said, when he tells you about himself, believe him. And him telling you about himself does not necessarily have to start with the words, "This is how I am." Just pay attention to what he says, pay attention to how he says it, and most importantly, pay attention to his actions. Right. See if he follows through. See if he's consistent. See if he is willing to take on the responsibility of being a husband to you, okay? See if he can mesh well with your personality. See if he is a good fit for you specifically. There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking these questions. See if you can build with him. See if he's motivated. What is he about? Has he gone to school? There's nothing wrong with even asking questions about his educational level. And, does he have a master's degree? If so, in what? What plans does he have for the future? Do you want to be a worker all your life? Do you want to be a business owner? How do you expect to earn income? What is the top salary you hope to achieve? Do you want to go back to school? What do you want to do for yourself? How do you want to do for yourself? What do you think about long walks on the beach? Whatever it is that you want to ask, don't be afraid to ask and pay attention to his answer. Because there's the answer that he'll give you to impress you, but then there's the answer that, he'll give when he's not necessarily thinking about the question. So just pay attention to what he tells you, and most importantly, believe him. Thank you.
Let's go to Water Swordsman.
Right. The two attributes I'd say that one should look for at anything in a person is this: are they considerate and are they compassionate? The reason why I say that, because if they have those two attributes, no matter what circumstances they go through, they'll always find their way out or make it where it doesn't bother you or affect you. Because we're living in times where things are changing now, okay? There's nothing really consistent like it used to be. So you got to look for that in a person. Okay, if you lose your job, is he going to still be with you, or is he going to leave, or vice versa? Because that is show, is he abusive? Do we play psychological games with you, play with your mind? See, if a man is compassionate or considerate, he's always going to think about your feelings and your emotions. Even if he's not making any money, he's going to think of ways how to make money where he can spend time with you or buy you things. So those are things you look for. You see, those two attributes to me is being considerate and compassionate. And if a man and you don't say nothing, you don't ask, you just watch and see, do he display these two antics? And if he do, then you got somebody else. See, people don't look for those things in people. And then when the storm comes, something happens, and you say, oh man, I didn't know this guy was like that. Yeah, you never been through anything with him. But if you look for those attributes, any storm will come, he's going to stand strong in the storm. That's all I suggest. I'm going to pass the mic.
All right, Mona, the floor is yours once again. I don't see anybody else person number one at this time, so the floor is yours once again, Mona.
All right, we're winding down here. We're at the 17 hour, 17 minutes past the hour. And so definitely the conversation is blossomed into something that's very necessary. I still didn't get my checklist yet, and I know some people out there. I know we we touched on some things sporadically throughout the conversation. But I kind of like, 1, 2, 3. Like, so for instance, in other cultures, a man is not ready to get a wife unless, just like what Brother Award just said and Brother Ahmathyahs just said, until he's able to prove that he can provide.
That's right.
So this is important. Like, you have to be able to, it's not a whole list of I'm a gonna. It's whether or not because if you can't provide for you, how in creation are you going to provide for, in Jamaican terms, uno? Or you all. You understand what I'm saying? How are you going to provide for more than one when you can't provide for one? And this is where a lot of times the issues come in, because the pressure of the man, the ego of the man is going to flare up. He's going to get, instead of that love and adoration for you, it's that resentment and ill thought towards you, because whether or not you are reminding him quietly or boisterously that, the portion that you're supposed to be delivering is not really happening. And so this is what creeps in oftentimes, too, as we're talking about relationships. So for me, I guess I will go around the board and see, what, okay, if we at least get one. If we get one and everybody put one in the pot, we'll have, 4. So as it relates to, and also the women, too, because I heard about cooking, which is very important, because she is, although the man's supplementary within the house is cooking. If he's out all day and he's making, bringing the resources in to prepare, some women will be like, yeah, you go ahead and cook it too. Okay, that's a bit OD. If the individual was outside all day preparing this stuff and bringing you what you need to make it, you not knowing how to do that is I was watching a sister. It was an African, and she said, I don't know how to sew. I guess that's going to be a little bit off on my bride price. She was making jokes, but she's from Nigeria. But anyway, the long and short of it is they understand, and other cultures understand, that this is what adds to our, quote, resume, because the truth is we're being employed. We all work for the Most High, as it was said in this conversation, but you are being employed in the station of a wife, in the station of a husband. This is your occupation. A husbandman is an actual occupation. It was the first occupation of man. It was to till the garden, and he had someone to help him. But again, like I said, for those, it's like a little takeaway. Outside of him, and Mayana spoke about fixing things. And if you don't know how to fix things, learn how to fix it, or learn how to get someone who knows how to fix it. Because if he goes and provides, and then everything he has to outsource out of the home, well, that's where a lot of the monies are going to. And everybody's not going to be Mr. Fix-It, but the reality is she's also looking to you to secure the dwelling. So if you're looking at her and the roof is leaking, talking about, I don't know, you don't know, we getting wet, I don't know what to do, that's a problem. She needs to feel like when something is wrong, you can fix it to a certain degree, especially if it's in your lane. But anywho, I guess I just kicked it off. The thoughts of cooking, the hard facts, man. Cooking, cleaning is a must. Being able to provide, to repair. What else say you, Sister Mariana? What are some other? Well, I know we talked about the emotional side of the relationship, but the physical provision or the physical way in which the relationship is going to be sustainable. Like love don't care, when there ain't no lights. You can talk that love stuff all you want, but you cold and in a thin sweater, cold, and nobody talk about no love. Like, who we gonna warm each other up? That's a problem. You understand what I'm saying? It ain't gonna last after a few, days and weeks and things of this nature. So we're gonna bring it all the way back down, and let's hear Sister Mayana. Outside of him being able to provide, what else is needed?
Well, you know what? I think that it's great that we're going back to the topic, and I think that it's a great segue because it's one of the things that we will be teaching at the Soul Center. One of the courses is about dealing with the stages of womanhood, and the point of going through those stages, the appropriate stages of daughter, sister, woman, wife, and then mother, doing things in decency and in order, is that by doing that appropriately, you learn those things along the way. You don't walk into the fourth stage, being the wife stage, and decide that you want to play house. Instead, you accumulate knowledge during your sister stage, your daughter stage, and your woman stage. Those types of knowledge include how to be cooperative. That would be something we're going to do in your sister stage. And the reason these talents or these skills are important coming into a household is that a woman who has learned cooperation is a woman who is not going to be contentious with her husband. It's a woman that understands that there is a need for there to be a give and a take, that there has to be someone who's going to take in charge, or someone who's going to make a list of orders, and someone who's going to carry those orders out. There's during your daughter stage, you learn the dietary laws. Obviously, if you are going to be a wife in someone's home, in order to be an appropriate Israelite woman, and you need to know what kind of things to put on the table when you are, because he may be at work and you will have to do the food shopping, so you have to be versed in the law. You have to know what Torah states is your purpose, and you need to know how the home functions. So we've been discussing cooking, but cook what? How do you know? You don't know unless you know Torah. So you're versed in what to cook. Your daughter says you want to eat and to talk. That's good communication. You're supposed to understand how to communicate, what to communicate. The idea that you are going to be a mother in the future, if these are the children of your own body, or if it's just the neighborhood children or your nieces and nephews, you are responsible as a woman to nurture their little minds as well. You should be able to educate the children, the young people that are around you. And how do you know that? Again, if you don't know Torah, what are you filling their little heads with? You should know Scripture. You should know the history. You should know the prophecies so that you can impart that to the young people. That is your role and your responsibility in the home, to educate the young people that you come into contact with. So I think that principally what you should busy yourself with is understanding Torah so that you can contribute to the home. We've been talking quite a bit about Genesis and the idea that because it was not good for man to be alone. Okay, irrespective of whether or not he's a leader or the authority, you cannot be a leader if there's no one else in the regime. So the Most High created a woman, and her job, her role, her responsibility is to be able to reflect back to that man the original purpose, for them to be able to come face to face and to build together. But you cannot do that if you're not a contributing member of the team. And you cannot be a contributing member of the team if you're an empty bobblehead waiting for somebody to fill you up with these other thoughts. I think one of the things that is problematic is that there are so many women being taught or influenced by men that they don't have a feminine vibration anymore. That when you can tell by talking to them that they are imitating and parroting masculine energy. And they are adopting that stance and that language and that posture. And the men are understandably pushing back. So and they will immediately say to you, oh, you are acting like a man. That's not attractive to me. You have all of this masculine energy. They have all this masculine energy because they are adopting a lot of masculine speech. So instead, going back into Torah and excavating all of our Hebraic femininity is, I think, essential so that we can go back and contribute to the home in the way, or into the family and the culture the way we are supposed to. And I think that we have to hone in on the uniqueness of that feminine energy and not allow, because there are men who are determined to diminish the value of the feminine energy by exalting the masculine principle and emphasizing its authority and emphasizing its role, almost to the point that they try to state that the Most High deals only with them in whatever disconnection of reality that came from. But instead, not internalizing that fiction, but dealing with the reality that you are the Most High's daughter, that you have a purpose, that your feminine energy is necessary, and to reclaim that feminine energy and not try to emulate masculine energy just because masculine energy is the one that's being praised and masculine energy is the one that's being prized. It's being prized because, although our Hebraic culture is not a misogynistic culture, it does tend to have an androcentricity to it. And that androcentricity is what's causing a lot of friction. So we need to disconnect from that, re-engage into our feminine identities, place value and worth on our feminine identities, and accept that there's greatness in it. There's greatness in it. It doesn't have to be the roles that the men are doing. That's their roles. It's great for them. So it's not great for you. It's great for them. Your roles are great, and it's okay to be with the children. It's okay to cook. It's okay to speak softly. It's okay to analyze things and have conversations. It's okay to participate in crafts. It's okay, and it's not to say that having a job is a masculine field. Obviously, women had occupations all throughout the Hebraic text, all throughout the Bible. There are women who participated in industries, with real industries. Like, there are women who built cities. There's a woman named Shara who is credited with building 2 cities. She named one city after herself. There's a woman that did that all by her onesies. It's found in 1 Corinthians in the Chronicles. So, but she's but this is not to say that she is like a man. I think that's one of the things that we need to deal with, is understanding that you don't have to occupy spaces that belong to a man to be worthy, but to have worth, or to be understood or prized or praised or appreciated in the eyes of the Most High. So, having rambled quite a bit, I'll yield the mic.
All right, now Mayana done put her food in the pot, and we getting a checklist here, and I heard quite a few things as it relates to identifying the roles of the feminine, because we were heavily handed on the masculine, what is expected of him, what it is that he's doing in this space and time, and just to balance off the conversation, thank you for adding that into the pot as well concerning what should be required, because there has been a trade-off, and I'm going to come to the brothers in 1 second. We're gonna wind down. There's been a trade-off for this education in lieu of your primary function, which some would beg to differ, but the primary function of the female, once she gets to that stage of maturity, is to be that other half of the equation that's going to secure the internal of the home. And there has been a trade-off, and I think that the caller was speaking towards it, where it's more important to get the traditional education in this society so that you can sustain. And as a result, we're seeing a lot of issues as it relates to the children who are coming, and the quality of care, and the things that we're missing along the way. So, again, this is a very important conversation to have, because, like you said, in this space and time, realistically, some women have to go to work. And you need education to be able to go to work, otherwise else you're just going to be working at a menial job. But even when you do the things that you have to do, sometimes men, honestly, from the feedback you get, are threatened by that conversation, by you providing, even though the environment is one that is kind of forcing one to have to go out and provide. Brothers, what are your thoughts? And is there anything else that you would like to add to the roles of a woman? I know we touched, and one thing I want to say about the cooking and cleaning, you had a whole tribe. And when you boil down their duties as they serve the Most High, there was those who was responsible for cleaning the temple, okay, and those who were responsible for cooking the food. So that's something to meditate on. I'm just saying, as everybody was talking, I'm like, wait a minute. The Levites did a whole lot of cooking and cleaning. I'm just saying. But, Brother Awar, your thoughts?
Right. Yeah. In my experiences, right, I never met no woman that can hold me down. I can hold women down. I never had a woman that can hold me down. So what I'm saying is, I always went beyond the call of duty. Like, I can take care. Only thing I couldn't do with a child is probably do the hair if it required braiding or breastfeeding. But I can shop for a kid. I knew how to change pampers. I knew how to heat up milk. I know how to do everything else. Okay? Cook, clean, everything a woman can do. I can hold that down. But a woman can't hold me down, because I can do that, and I can do my part, which is like, for instance, fix car. Like when the cars go down, I'm the guy that handle that. But I never met a woman that can handle that. They can't do what I do. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm a one-man army, I don't know. But I'm just built like that. I don't know a lot of men that, I know a lot. I've met men can't even pay bills. They can't even pay the house bills without the woman. But I'm going to pass the mic on that.
Brother, oh, man. You know what? I will go to Brother Ahmathyahs, and then we're going to get our closing thoughts and statements on this conversation. Brother is funny. I will go to Ahmathyahs for what you want to add in the part as relates to, our little checklist of certain things that we should have when we come to the table. Like you have this, like you said, and I think you actually went over the questions that one should ask towards the men. But maybe you could touch on what the man should ask the woman, because in the Caribbean, and they made a song about it. Basically the translation is, "Girl, you better can cook." You know what I'm saying? Do you think you're here for your pretty looks? Because Caribbean men, or I'll just speak Jamaican men, don't really play that. And the reality is Jamaican men a lot of times know how to cook. Like Award just said, I come from a culture where all of my brothers know how to cook and clean. So they're not looking for necessarily a housemaid, because all of those things they know how to do. They know how to iron their clothes better than women. You understand? Because my mother and my father made sure that they had these skills so that no woman necessarily could use this to say, I'm not cooking you dinner tonight, so therefore you'll be hungry. So oftentimes we put the emphasis on, doing these domestic things to think that it's the only thing that is required of a wife, but that's the same thing that you can get from a maid servant. So on your thoughts as it relates to a wife, is there anything else that you could put in the checklist for those who are listening? Brother Ahmathyahs.
Yeah, most definitely. I would say when it comes down to being a maid, let me see some of the things that a woman can. Well, we know cooking, cleaning. There are certain tasks that men look for. Like, for example, I come from the culture that pretty much mirrors yours. For example, I'm Haitian. A lot of Haitian men know how to cook, all right? But if you go back to Haiti or even here, Haitian men pretty much don't like to cook for themselves if they have a woman that can cook for them. I mean, it's just off of the sheer principle that if I have a woman in the house, then why in the world am I cooking? It just doesn't look good. Forget whether or not if I know how to cook, even if I can cook better than she can. Listen, you're a woman, you can cook, I'm going to eat what you make. It's that simple, right? Whatever I don't like, whatever you cook that I don't like, I'll show you how to do it my way, so on and so forth. So I pretty much understand what you're saying. I think a key component that men need to look for in women, and also the other way around, is the cognitive and emotional, not capability, but what's the word I'm looking for? The emotional match, so to speak. If you guys, compatibility. If you guys can come together, because I actually found what Award said very interesting, and I would say that from what I read in the scriptures, from what I study in secular science, and from my own experience, that it's actually been the quite opposite of my experience. For the simple fact that a mother, for example, a single mom, she could be a great single mom. She could be providing all the things that's necessary for the child to have because there's no man there to do it, but she could never be a dad. There's certain, and likewise, a father, like how Ward said he can do X, Y, Z, and ABC for his kids. And I don't take credit away from the man. Maybe he can, but the fact of the matter is he'll never be able to be a mother. And there's certain things that a child, whether a man, whether a boy or girl, needs from a mom that he or she cannot get from a dad. Not because he's an inadequate dad, it's simply because he's not a mom. Okay? I was actually listening to a lecture and looking at a study as far as homosexuality is concerned. And because now that there's no gay gene, both sides has unanimously come to this conclusion. And this is a topic that I follow very closely. They look into second causes as far as what are the things that can lead a child in that way, a second cause. So one of the aspects that the studies bring out, multiple studies bring out, is that there are certain things that a child both needs from a mom and a dad. So it's not just about what you can do for me physically, as far as cooking and cleaning, but also what you can bring to me. How can you how can you balance me? How can you compliment me? And how can I compliment you? Because at the end of the day, like how I'm going to stress in one of our last talks, at the end of the day, we are going to bring the children into this setup in a ideal situation. And there are things that my daughter and my sons will need from me simply or because I'm a man, that I will not be able to provide them, I would not be able to provide them the things that they need from their mom, regardless of how great of a dad that I am. I could be dad of the year. I could be the dad of the century, the greatest dad since Adam himself. But the fact of the matter is, there are certain things that boy, all right, and that girl will need from their mom that I cannot give them, and that is not a downplay or a reflection on me as a man. That's just how the Most High has things set up. So when we talk about principle and we use the word energy or masculine energy, feminine energy, that the word energy is not just denoting sex or gender. It's actually talking about a real raw energy that both genders uniquely bring into the relationship, that they merge with one another, and that they pass on to the children. Okay, so there are things that if you have a single parent household, which may not be the mom's fault, unfortunately, there will be certain things that are lacking because the masculine energy is not there. By the grace of the Most High, maybe that can be made up for by an uncle, a coach, some kind of male influence that will come in to make up for that lack of masculine energy. And likewise, in single parent households where the father is the one who's maintaining the children and the mom is not there, there are certain things that will be lacking because there is no feminine energy that's there. He can be a great dad, but if you don't have a woman in the home providing and giving that nurturing, loving, caring feminine energy, there will be a void there. And hopefully by the grace of the Most High, someone can come in to fill it. Maybe someone of his family, his sister, some other woman that will come in to make up for that as best as she possibly can. But let's not take this lightly. Both male and female, because of what they bring, because of their complementarity, are unique and are detrimental to the relationship. And that's not to say, and that goes back to what Mayana alluded to in the beginning. Well, she said in the beginning, it's not that one is above the other. We need one another equally because both principles, both men and women, bring in unique aspects to the relationship. So when a man is fishing for a mate, he needs to find out how well he can get along with this woman, his own personality type. How can he make this work? What does she have to bring into the relationship, not just on a physical level, because she could be a bad cook. And those are things that she can learn. But when it comes down to character, when it comes down to morals, when it comes down to certain virtues and qualities which are intangible, those are the things that we also need to look for, and not just what she can do in the kitchen. And to that, I'll pass the mic.
Good stuff. Now your basket is looking a little full. That was some good stuff. Definitely. I'll check on Brother Sal. Thank you for that, Brother Ahmathyah. As we extend this conversation and expand it to where hopefully to the listening audience and those who also on the panel can begin to reassess ourselves, our thoughts, and the things that we have subscribed to in the past so that we can improve our experience. Stress. One time I was looking at some stats on stress, and high up on the list is job, relationships. So if you're in the wrong relationship, that will be if you don't do your homework, that can become a high stressor. This is where people like, man, I don't want to go home. I'm going to go to the bar. Oh, I don't want to go home. I'm going to go to the girlfriend. This is what happens when we don't do our due diligence in the beginning, and we get into spaces in which we feel trapped and we found other routes of which to escape. And so this stuff is very, very important as we raise the bar on this conversation of relationships in the nation. So I'm going to check on Brother Sal because we pretty much at the end of it if we don't have any more callers. Brother Sal?
Yeah, I think we have two more callers on. Let's see. Let's go to 803-439. You'll have an answer. 803, are you there? 803. All right. Let's go to 734. You'll have an answer. 734.
734?
Yeah, how you doing? Yep.
I was listening to the conversation. It's very interesting. It seemed to be a lot of concern coming from the side of the females because it seems like their expectations aren't being fulfilled but I think kind of one thing that was kind of out in the open that a lot of people dodged is, the state of the black male, after slavery. A lot of black males, and I'm a black male too, and I have a lot of black male friends, but black males are very insecure. And that can lead to narcissism, or narcissistic behavior, I should say. That can also lead to, if the woman makes more than a man, that can also develop another insecurity. So, the black male insecurity, which is a huge wound, also has to be addressed when going into a relationship. Another thing I kept hearing was this 50-50 thing, and that guys do dishes and things like that. I have some friends from a country called Senegal in Africa, and I would go over their house and I'd visit, and they'd tell me how it was like in Senegal. And then they would ask me, like, well, how is it here in America? And I would say, well, I do laundry and dishes. And that caused these brothers to roll off the floor. I mean, they were cracking up. And I couldn't understand what they were laughing at, because to me, doing dishes was normal. Then one of them pulled me to the side and he said, hey, you're doing women chores. Why don't you have a woman, doing your chores? And I was like, well, we're in America. And if I do get a girl, like, they don't really know how to cook. I got to do my own laundry, but, you got to do everything. But what I kind of learned is that the men are being emasculated. Either they're emasculating themselves or the women are emasculating them. And then the females are becoming more masculine. And then I think another thing that we also have to understand, too, is that we are black people. We're not Europeans. So a lot of these problems, that 50-50 and male domination and, female fighting the male domination and feminism, those are really European problems. Because in Africa, we respected and highlighted our women. And women knew their roles, and men knew their roles, and men knew they had to be providers, and women knew that they had women chores, and they would, cut up the meat and serve the meat, and the men would go out and hunt and bring back the meat. And now it's kind of, because we're under European culture, we've adopted European ways, and a lot of those ways are unbiblical. So when I hear 50-50 and I do dishes and I do this and that, another sister brought up Adam and Eve, and that Eve was created as a helpmeet to help Adam till the garden, but also after they were kicked out of the garden, it says, and Adam shall rule over Eve. And then that's when another sister said, well, some of, the Bible might be, she didn't want to really, criticize about, she's saying that the Bible was a little heavy-handed. It was a little bit masculine, patriotic. And that's because the people that had ruled in Egypt had a patriarchal society. Islam has a very patriarchal society where the woman has to be veiled. She doesn't have a lot of rights. She really can't speak too much. And I heard a lot of that echoing and mirroring in the Israelite community. There were the same brothers that were kind of trying to promote polygamy were also saying, well, a woman can't speak and she has to be off in the background. And I even saw a few sisters with veils on, and they were very silent, and they have to ask permission to speak. And they're living in a European society where the white woman is rebelling against the white man and saying, hey, I have a voice, I can speak, I want to be educated, and I want to work, and you shouldn't have a problem with that. And that doesn't make me a man to accomplish things. That makes you a human being. But then, like I said, you go back to the Bible, so we have, this new age kind of new way of doing things versus this old way, an old way of doing things, and then we have to learn how do we balance the two, and what's causing these behaviors in the first place. We talk about narcissism, but we never addressed what causes a person to be narcissistic in the first place. And that, I believe, comes about through, once again, insecurity. It's a compensation for something that someone lacks. I believe in duality. So if there's a negative narcissism, then there also should be a healthy narcissism, just like with confidence. Healthy confidence is belief in self, and then negative confidence is what people call cockiness. That guy is very cocky, very, You know, he thinks he's super good looking and things like that. You know, but we have to address what caused that in the first place. And I think once we address what causes these behaviors in the first place, then we can move forward with the healing process and a coming together process. But I think, especially for the Israelite community, they have to make a decision whether do they want to follow in the ways of European culture and equality, or are they going to follow in biblical tradition where the woman has her role and the man rules over the woman. That's a decision that the Israelite community is going to make. I know me personally as a man, I would like to be a provider and come home with a meal cooked. And I don't feel like I should have to work all day and then come home and cook and do the dishes afterwards to appease the woman when the Bible says that she was created as a helpmeet. So if I'm doing
that's
everything,
a great point.
Wait, hold on, Sister Mayana, hold on.
Last 10 minutes. We only have 8 minutes up to on the air, so I think we should go ahead and address the brother. Do you want to address him first, sis? Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first.
All right, cool. Thanks. I was listening, and some of the stuff that you spoke to, we kind of said, I'm not sure if you were hearing. I actually spoke to the last point that you just made, but you did make concerning. Brother Sal, what's been doing? You did make some good points concerning the damage that was done during slavery. However, the damage that was done wasn't only just, and so the
we had some background noises.
Somebody has some background noises.
Yeah.
Some of the conversation. I'll leave the damage for last and speak about comparing ourselves to certain different cultures. Okay. So those who are Hamitic have different cultures, and even within their tribes, they have different cultures. It's not a culture that is across the board. From region to region, they determine what is women's work and what is men's work, if you can understand what I'm saying. And so if you're in a country like Ghana, or if you go to a country like South Africa, you may have different definition of what is women's work. So specifically, you named somebody coming from Senegal saying that washing dishes is women's work. I introduced the thought that the question of whether men can cook or clean, I said if you look at the Levites in Hebraic culture, there were a class of people who were supposed to tend the sanctuary, and they were responsible for cleaning, and they were responsible for washing the pans. There were no women in there. There were no women in there to the sense there were women who were Levites, but they were not in the position to cook, sod the meat, offer the offerings. All of this was done by men. And so the thought that depending on where you're employed at, you definitely, and as Sister Mayana said, you see Jacob also and Esau in this preparation of food. To say that only one class of people or one gender of people are responsible for preparing food, I don't think that's necessarily Hebraic. That may be another nation, but we see in the Hebraic culture that's not there. No, I do definitely understand that if the man is going to be the provider, the woman shouldn't be at home, eating bonbons, talking about what's for dinner. You know what I'm saying? Or talking about let's order some Papa John's. Like, that's kind of out of order. But if she's Nada, or if she just came off, or like how you say, unclean, or if she just had a child and she can't get up on her feet, is that man going to sit there and look at her and say, hey, man, what's for dinner? The next thing that's missing in our culture when a lot of people speak about what is required of the woman is something I spoke about this last week, which is handmaidens, maidservants, and manservants. All throughout our culture, we hear about this, but in this space and time, we don't hear about it. And we expect the same things that happened in Hebraic time to happen today without the same tools. So, for instance, she wasn't responsible to do all of what we're talking about. That one woman, that wife, was not responsible. When we see that Sarah had handmaiden, actually it says Abraham had manservants and maidservants. Okay? When he went up against those who captured Lot, he went with 300 plus men that were born in his house and bought with his money. When we see Raquel and Leah getting married, we see their father giving them aid. We see Rivka getting Deborah. So if we want to talk about Hebraic, the expectation that all of the duties of the household is going to be on the woman alone, that's not Hebraic. But what we have is, in today's society, when we became the help, see, this is when we turned our back on the Most High. So now we became the help. Now, the same way in which she is expected to supplement for him, he is also expected to supplement for her. And so the conversation, like you said, and I'll say one more thing, and I'll give it to Sister Mayana, concerning the damage that was done, he wasn't the only one damaged. The reality is that all throughout slavery, she was working. She was working right alongside him in the field. So when you talk about the man and the woman coming back together in this space and time, I think humility on both sides, because the reality is the woman oftentimes is expected to walk on eggshells because of his ego, or because of his temperament, or because of his indifference, or because of his position, and at the same time, she's expected to shoulder everything plus more, which is unrealistic. You understand what I'm saying? Because the reality is she was out there with you. She was catching them blows with you. She was getting whipped with you. Her children was getting sold from her breast. So everyone come to the conversation with a level of humility instead of kind of like what the me thought. You know, and like you said, adding in that element to the healing conversation. And so hopefully, you know, I thank you for sharing. I'm going to give it to Sister Mayana at this point. But, you know, when we compare ourselves to people who have not gone through what we've gone through, we do a great injustice, because there we go back to the rigidness that Brother Ahmathyahs was speaking about earlier. We go back to the things that is unrealistic, because now you're saying to her, yeah, you go to work too, then do all of these things. So, you know, again, I'll go ahead and pass the mic to Sister Mayana before Block Talk cut us off.
Right, we got 2 minutes. All right, so these last 2 minutes, I want to first bring to your attention that I don't know who was advocating for a 50-50, but I think that generally speaking, we don't really expect a 50-50 in this Israelite environment. Instead, we understand that there's a headship that belongs to the men. You made a statement, I think that was a very good statement, that you don't feel that you should have to go to work and then come home and cook and clean and then wash the dishes, that you think that is wholly unreasonable. And yet, this is the expectation for women. Women have to go to work and then come home and cook and clean and take care of the children and make sure everything is, you know, all right with the world. And like you said, and when you were thinking about it as it applies to you, that's unrealistic and it's unjust. You know, Scripture tells you about just weights and balances. And if a woman has to go out and work, most of these men are all gun-ho about the woman going out and working and bringing home whatever, and they'd be very quick to bring out Proverbs 31, beginning with the 10th verse, you know, and that poem that lists all of the many ways that the woman is engaged in activities, and citing that as, you know, yes, the woman should provide, and then also saying she needs to cook and clean and do all of the other things that are inside the home. So I'm glad that you pointed out the injustice in that, because it is unreasonable. We have 1 minute left. So I wanted also to the point of feminism. I would like to invite you to listen to the show that Amuna and I did regarding feminism, and you would find that a lot of what you are saying, most Hebrew Israelite women will agree with you. See, most Hebrew Israelite women are not feminists at all and consider it a blight on whatever is happening now. And it is contrary to our Hebraic femininity, but in a lot of ways it has been used against us, even though it's not what we forward. Or, you know, there's a history to feminism that we explore, and so we invite you to hear that. And maybe if you listen to some of the other shows, you can have a better insight into the Hebraic femininity that Amuna and myself tend to speak on. Blog Talk is being very generous, so I think we can go ahead and give our last statements before they kick us off for real.
And I think they're going to kick us off, so let's just stop. Now, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's get some final words and start with Ahmathyahs. Final words.
Final words before we get kicked off. I'll just keep it nice and short. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. I hope we can pick up this conversation at another time. And God bless all of you. Good night.
Yeah, actually, I got let me see, a recent email asking for, it says, we're checking the show on marriage, and we're checking to see if y'all know any brothers who do marriage counseling. Anybody want to put some information out there? Anybody that you want to know a brother that does marriage counseling? You put that information out there. Anybody on the panel?
I think there's a brother that I don't want to volunteer him, but if that person wants to inbox me, I can get in contact with an elder brother. I think that everyone probably knows a few male elders who is best to do that. So before I broadcast them online or on the air, instead if that person would like to inbox us, I think we can provide some information that way.
All right, so what I'll do, I'll just I'll inbox that person your Facebook page and let them know, you know, to further contact you to get that information. All right, so since you're talking, final words, man. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Since this is my final for the night, I will go ahead and tell you what the next 2 episodes will be. I thank you for joining us for this one. Next week, you can look forward to us discussing if men without livelihoods are entitled to marry. Meaning, if you don't have a job, if you have no way to provide, are men without livelihoods entitled to wives? And our final show will be on polygyny, old wine and new skins. Yeah. So that conversation will be on an all-female panel. So look forward to that. So our penultimate episode will be on whether or not men without livelihoods should have wives, and our final episode will be on polygyny. It'll be an all-female panel, so you can look forward to that. Shameen, I wish you all the best. Shalom and good night.
All right, the water swordsman.
Yeah, I want to say it was a good show, and I just want to say to all the sisters out there, always remember this: look like your husband's girlfriend, not his wife. And with that, I say shalom.
All right, Amuna.
I can't with Brother Awar. He's both. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the Relationship Challenge. We're going hard to the end of the season. I pray that the information you hear, that you're not only just listening for entertainment purposes only, that you do your own research, and that you also try to implement some of the things that will save you headaches along the way, and as well teach our children so that the next generation could have the tools to make better decisions. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I pray everybody have a blessed rest of the week and go forward and do something great. Shalom.